3 years of marriage. He hadn't only trampled my heart, he'd treated the scraps of affection he tossed my way as charity. The moment I overheard him and first, I snapped. I snatched my phone. Adrian, I need a favor. I want the Vance estate left with nothing. I gripped the phone, my tone so calm it was almost cold, yet a faint tremor at the end betrayed me. Adrian went silent for a beat, then his low, steady voice came through. Done, Arya. Whatever you decide, I'm on your side. His words hit like a shot of adrenaline, steadying the storm inside me. I inhaled sharply, forcing the tears back. Adrian, I'm filing for divorce, walking away with nothing, no problem. None of that matters, he answered, still unshakable. Arya, you've been wronged. That single sentence was the key that unlocked the floodgates. Tears streamed down unchecked. I bit my lip to muffle a sob and whispered, Adrian. Riley, silly girl, no need for thanks, he sighed, tenderness lining his voice. Take care of yourself. Leave the rest to me. The call ended. I sagged onto the couch, fingers absently brushing the divorce papers on the coffee table, black ink on white, stabbing my eyes. 3 years, over. Memories crashed in, unstoppable. 3 years ago Julian's gentleness had felt like home. He remembered every favorite thing, surprised me, stayed by my side when Cameron kept me in bed. I'd believed he loved me, at least once. When had it changed? When Lillian flew back? Or earlier, and I'd simply refused to see? Only Julian knew, but I was done asking. The past was a gilded dream, fragile bubbles that burst at a touch. Dreams over. Time to wake. I lifted the papers, checked every clause, then moved to the window and drew the curtains. Outside, the city night was heavy, stars dim. Like my heart, gray, lightless. Yet dawn always comes. And I, Arya, will claim my new beginning. Mr. Vance, congratulations, Vance Industries is soaring. A middle-aged man in a tux lifted his champagne as he approached Julian, beaming. The Vance Industries' 30th anniversary gala sparkled with celebrities. I lingered in a corner, watching Julian and Lillian, my heart splintering. Lillian's white gown was simple, elegant, and almost identical to mine, chosen specially to match Julian's black tux. Now the coincidence felt like mockery. She smiled, curling her hand around his arm. Perfect couple. President Layton, you flatter me, Julian answered, raising his glass. We owe our success to friends like you. Mr. Vance, rumors say you're moving into renewables, another guest asked, probing. Indeed, Julian nodded, confident. Lillian's expertise will be invaluable. He turned to her, soft-eyed. Lillian, thoughts? Julian's instincts are always right, the project will thrive, she cooed, admiration sparkling. I'll give it everything. Good. Julian faced his assistant. Transfer Lillian to the core division, deputy director of the project. Yes, Mr. Vance. Praise erupted, Julian bold, Lillian brilliant. Each compliment turned my stomach. Core division, my unreachable goal. I'd studied, fought, polished myself to stand beside him. Lillian gained it effortlessly. And Julian never even glanced at me. He announced it in front of everyone, no thought for my feelings. My heart sank, iced. I turned to escape the suffocation. Arya, where are you going? Julian's voice carried. I paused, back still to him. I need air, don't wander. Important guest shortly. Cool, indifferent. Fine. I walked faster. Outside on the terrace, night wind brushed my skin. I inhaled, fighting tears. They fell anyway. Footsteps sounded. I wiped quickly, expecting Julian. It was Adrian. Adrian? What are you doing here? I'm worried, he said, searching my face. Are you okay? I'm fine. How did you find me? I called Julian, he said you were out here. His gaze sharpened. Did he hurt you? No, I lied. Don't overthink. Tell me the truth, Arya. If you're hurting, Adrian will fix it. Adrian. I broke, collapsing against him, sobbing out every humiliation. He stroked my back in silence until the storm passed. Arya, have you decided? I nodded, steady. Yes. I'm sure. Then I'm with you, always. Riley, Adrian. I knew the road ahead would be brutal, but with him, I'd walk it straight. Days later, my perfume launch arrived. The venue buzzed. On stage, anticipation fluttered through me. Half a year of work, countless tests, endless nights. I wanted recognition, I wanted Julian to see more than a stand-in. Next, let's welcome perfumer to share her inspiration, the host announced. I stepped up, taking the mic. Hello, I'm Aria. My voice quivered. This fragrance is called Stardust, and its spark came. Sterling uproar cut me off. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The display lay shattered, glass shards, liquids bleeding together, acrid fumes rising. What happened? My mind blanked. Aria, look what you've done. Lillian shrieked, pointing. Passing off faulty product. I didn't. I blended every bottle myself. Blend? She laughed. You don't even hold a perfumer license, you fraud. Lillian, Julian interjected, gentle, that's enough. I believe Aria, it wasn't intentional. Julian, you're too kind. She's tricked you. These could ruin skin. Aria, he said, eyes clouded, you've disappointed me. I tried to speak, no sound came. His doubt, his instant alliance with her, knife twists. All my effort, merely self-delusion. Aria, anything to say? Lillian taunted. Admit it and I might forgive you. I'm not wrong, I lifted my chin. I won't apologize. Fine, watch your back, she hissed, spinning to Julian. Punish her, Aria, Julian declared, voice icy, you're suspended. Don't come back. I'll have payroll issue your severance pay in full. Julian, you can't do this to me. I couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, these perfumes are genuinely fine. Enough. Julian barked, Aria, are you done making a scene? If you keep throwing tantrums, don't blame me for getting rough. I'm throwing tantrums? I stared at Julian and felt nothing but absurdity. Julian, have you ever considered that Lillian orchestrated all of this? Aria, stop slinging mud. Lillian's face flushed with outrage. Why would I ever do such a thing? Julian, you have to believe me. I believe you, Julian said to Lillian, his voice suddenly gentle. Lillian, don't be angry. I'll handle it. Aria, you disappoint me. Julian turned back to me. I opened my mouth to explain, but no sound came out. I trust Lillian, she's not a liar. Don't come looking for me until you're ready to apologize. Julian's words pronounced my death sentence. I looked at him, at the cold disgust in his eyes, and found it laughable. 3 years, and I'd still harbored hope. I'd thought that if I tried hard enough, I could earn his approval. Now I saw it was all my own wishful thinking. I turned and walked away. Behind me rang Lillian's triumphant laughter. I stumbled outside, the sunlight stabbed my eyes. The winter wind poured into my lungs, finally clearing my head. I cannot collapse. I still have more important things to do. I swallowed my tears, pulled out my iPhone, and dialed. Hello, is this the movers? I need to relocate. I gave the Vance Estates address, my voice calmer than I expected. When the call ended, I lifted my face to the sky. The sun was still blinding, but it could no longer scorch my heart, because my heart was already dead, completely dead. I wandered the streets, mind blank. I don't know how long I walked before I stopped in front of a cafe. I went in and chose a window table. The barista approached to take my order. Sterling Americano, Riley, I said hoarsely. After the barista left, I gazed out the window, lost in thought. Julian and I had met in college. Back then he was the campus star, and I was just another nobody. I never imagined we'd end up together. But fate is strange. We met at a club fair. He struck up a conversation and asked my name. I told him, Aria. He said it was a beautiful name, perfect for me. I smiled, genuinely happy. That was our first and only calm, heartfelt talk. Later he pursued me, breakfast deliveries, secret backrow appearances, bedside vigils when I was sick. I admitted it, I fell. I said yes, and we became a couple. Those days were the happiest of my life, shared classes, meals, library sessions. He surprised me on birthdays, held me when I cried. I thought we'd stay that happy forever, but reality is cruel. After graduation he took over Vance Industries and became its CEO. I became a perfumer. Our lives diverged. He grew busier, our hours together shrank. His warmth turned lukewarm, then cold. I tried to bridge the gap, working harder to prove myself. It was useless, his heart was already elsewhere. I'm not sure when I first sensed Lillian. Maybe when his business trips multiplied, when calls went unanswered, when affection evaporated. I asked about her, he brushed it off, just a friend. I chose to believe. My trust earned me naked, utter betrayal. The coffee arrived. I stared at the dark liquid, bitterness coated my tongue. I shut my eyes, forcing tears back. Arya, no more crying. You've cried enough. Stay strong. Leave him. Start over. I opened my eyes, lifted the cup, and drank it in one gulp. The bitter jolt sharpened my nerves. I set the cup down, stood, and left. Back at the mansion I began packing. I took little, a few clothes, some documents, and the perfume bottle my mother had left me, her favorite scent. I clutched it, breathing the familiar notes. Mom, I miss you. I'm so tired. I want to leave this world, but I won't. I won't let Julian and Lillian win. They will pay. Bag in hand, I stepped into the living room, empty. Julian hadn't returned. I paused at the door and looked back at the place I'd called home for 3 years, once filled with memories. Now it's just a shell. I inhaled, turned, and walked out without glancing back, disappearing into the city night. Julian came home late. Exhausted, he entered the silent living room. Usually I'd be waiting with hot tea and supper. Tonight only cold air greeted him. Arya, he called. No answer. He frowned, pushed open the bedroom door, empty. The bed was perfectly made, nothing of mine remained. His heart sank. He yanked open the closet, bare. My clothes, bags, shoes, all gone. Only lonely hangers swayed. His face paled. He grabbed his iPhone and dialed. The number you have reached is switched off. The automated voice repeated, merciless. Hands trembling, he set the phone down and moved to the desk. A document lay there, bold black letters, divorce agreement. His pupils contracted. He skimmed it. I wanted nothing, I only wanted out. His breath came fast, knuckles whitened around the papers. Arya, how dare you? He bit out the words, fury blazing. He thought I was merely sulking, that I'd be back. He was wrong. I'd left without drama, without tears, without begging. Only the icy agreement marked our end. Julian's body shook. He collapsed into a chair, dizziness crashing over him. Arya, he whispered, voice ragged. He couldn't name the feeling, rage, resentment, or panic. He only knew something vital had been ripped away. He stared at the document, tempted to tear it, yet unable. To destroy it might sever the last thread between us. He clutched it instead, nails slicing his palm. Blood dripped, blooming red across the white paper, horrific, final. Julian refused to believe I was truly gone. To him this was just another tactic for attention. He snorted, tossed the agreement aside, and poured a glass of wine, downing it in one. The alcohol burned, yet restlessness lingered. He continued appearing publicly with Lillian, galas, clients, photo ops, using work and her affection to fill the hollow space. It was futile. At night memories assaulted him, my smile, my tenderness, everything I'd done for him. Insomnia followed, then irritability, blunders in the boardroom. Only then did he grasp how much I'd mattered, yet he still wouldn't admit defeat. Surely I'd return, apologize, grovel. But 1 day, 2, 3, a week passed, no sign of me. Panic gnawed. He called my friends, none knew where I'd gone. They hadn't heard from me in ages. His heart sank further. He launched inquiries, used every contact, every resource. I had vanished, no trail, no shadow, like I'd never existed. My iPhone went dark. My cards showed zero activity. My social feeds froze. I had vanished from his world, utterly. Julian finally panicked. He realized I might truly never come back. Regret clawed at him. He missed us, missed what we had. He finally understood. I had been the most important person in his life. But it was too late. I was gone. Gone for good. Julian started searching like a madman. He hit every place we'd ever shared. The multiplex where we'd cuddled through midnight blockbusters. The bistro that always added extra chili to my pasta. Riverside, where we'd walked under neon dusk. He hunted for a glimpse, a trace of my perfume. He found only ghosts and his own echoing regret. Memories flooded back. Every dish I'd plated, every shirt I'd pressed, every small surprise I'd engineered. Only then did he grasp how much I had given. The knowledge gutted him. He wanted to rewind, to repay, to kneel and say, I was wrong. I love you. He had no stage left. I'd left, carrying my disappointment, my despair, erased from his universe. Then Julian's company began to fracture. Partners tore up contracts. Stock price nosedived. Banks demanded notes. Blow after blow left him reeling. He finally saw the truth. I hadn't just been his wife. I'd been his silent CFO, his fixer, his shield. He'd dismissed me as useless. Now he knew better. He was the worthless one. Lose me, lose everything. Lillian watched his meltdown with secret glee. Her moment, she decided. She sidled up, voice soft as silk. Julian, I'll stay by you. Arya left because of me. Blame me, hate me, but let me make it right. Tears shimmered on cue. Julian felt only static. Lillian, this isn't your fault. She chose to walk, don't blame yourself. She opened her mouth again. I'm exhausted, he cut in. I need space. He strode to his bedroom and shut the door. Lillian stared at the panels, venom flashing in her eyes. She would erase me from his memory if it killed her. At a charity gala weeks later, a casual remark detonated Julian's world. Adrian, heir to sterling fragrance? That's the empire that owns half of Asia's perfume lanes. Julian's pulse stalled. Aria, same sterlings? Saw them together at the Stardust launch this afternoon, the investor chuckled, flashing a snapshot. Julian devoured the image. Me on stage, snow-white gown, chin lifted, introducing a crystal flagon. Adrian beside me, pride shining. This wasn't the timid girl who once begged for scraps of his attention. This was Aria, heiress, perfumer, fire. His throat closed. She's really a sterling? Sworn to secrecy till now. Apparently she wanted to earn her stripes without the surname. Julian reeled from the aftershock. All those nights I'd drafted his briefs, charmed his investors, massaged his temples. Not from need, from love. And he'd tossed it. He excused himself, lungs burning, and dialed Adrian. Put me through to Aria. She doesn't want to talk, Mr. Vance. It's life or death, tell me where she is. Look at the clock, Adrian replied, ice cold. You're 3 years late. The line clicked dead. Julian drove to the Sterling mansion. Ellis opened the gate a crack. Miss Sterling isn't receiving visitors. I'm her husband. Ex-husband on paper, Ellis corrected, already swinging the door. Adrian strode up behind him. Let me see her, Julian begged. Adrian blocked the entry. You never saw her, she was wallpaper to you. She gave up her dreams, her name, her pride. You threw them back like change. She carried your baby, Julian. She walked into your office glowing, and walked out broken. You'd said you didn't want it. She believed you. The words slammed into Julian's chest like a freight train. He staggered, vision blotting. He had fathered, then forfeited, the one thing that might have saved us both. Adrian's gaze stayed merciless. Respect her silence, Mr. Vance. It's all she has left to give you. She went home, sat alone in the soaking tub, and cried the whole night through. The next day she went to St. Gabriel's Hospital and terminated the baby. Alone. Julian's legs gave out. He crashed to the floor, tears streaming unchecked. No, this isn't real. It wasn't like this. Adrian, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. Of course you didn't. Adrian's voice was ice. Because you only ever had eyes for Lillian. You never truly saw Aria. Julian, leave. Now. Aria finally found the courage to walk away and start her own life. Please, don't ever bother her again. Julian looked up, despair flooding his eyes. Adrian, please, just let me see her one last time. I need to tell her I'm sorry, face to face. I'm begging you. Adrian studied Julian for a long second, something complicated flickering in his gaze. Julian, do you know something? Aria never cried easily, not since she was small. But in these 3 years she shed more tears than in the 20 before them. She didn't leave on impulse. She woke up after wound upon wound and chose to save herself. If you ever loved her, let her keep walking, far away from you. He turned and stepped inside. The butler swung the heavy door shut, sealing Julian out. Julian slumped on the ground, his vision blurring under fresh tears. At last he understood, losing me was irreversible. He began clawing through every memory of us. Each smile, every touch, every sentence replayed on Sterling endless loop. He remembered the first time I cooked for him, clumsy yet earnest. He remembered me staying up past dawn beside him though my eyes could barely stay open. He remembered the birthday surprise I'd spent weeks crafting, ruined when he chose last-minute overtime. He remembered the night Cameron scorched my body and I called, only to hear him hang up because he was with Lillian. The memories crashed over him like breakers, every frame a blade. Julian huddled on the couch, arms crushed to his head, drowning in pain. Only then did it hit him, I had loved him completely, and he, with indifference and betrayal, had strangled that love himself. He launched a frantic hunt for any trace of me. Through contacts he learned I would compete in next week's international perfumer competition. He decided he would corner me there. On the day of the event Julian arrived early. He stood amid the crowd, scanning for my silhouette. Then he spotted me. Pure white dress, hair simply twisted, face glowing with confidence. A version of me he had never seen, poised, radiant, untouchable. His heart clenched. I didn't notice him. I walked straight to my booth. Julian dragged in a breath and started toward me. Aria. My body froze at the sound. I turned slowly, the light in my eyes died, replaced by frost. Julian, what are you doing here? Arya, the host's voice cut in. Next to present, Arya and her creation. I gave Julian one last glance, then stepped onto the stage. He remained rooted, watching me recede. My presentation was flawless, assured, professional. When I spoke of my perfume's inspiration, my voice rang clear. This fragrance is named Rebirth. Top notes of citrus and lemon, newborn hope, morning sunlight. Heart of rose and jasmine, the love and hurt we meet while growing. Base of sandalwood and musk, what settles after storms have passed. This scent is my life in a bottle. The journey from humbled stand-in to woman reclaimed, rising through hurt, forged in loss. Julian stood below, eyes burning with anguish that could no longer touch me, because the heart he sought had already died, by his own hand. I finished with effortless grace, the room erupted in a standing ovation. The instant I descended, Julian blocked my path. Arya, we need to talk. There's nothing left to say. My stare was arctic. We're strangers now. No, please. He seized my wrist, voice cracking with desperation. I was wrong, I see it now. Let go. I freed myself, gaze unshaken. Julian, your mistake wasn't falling for Lillian, it was never respecting me. To you I was always replaceable, a toy you could trample. Arya, that's not, I've always loved you. Love? I laughed coldly. Your love threw my birthday cake into the trash. Your love mocked and belittled me in front of everyone. Your love said, get rid of it, when I told you I was pregnant. Arya, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Enough. I cut him off. Julian, spare me your apology. Riley, you taught me love requires respect and cherish. And Riley, you showed me certain injuries can never be healed. Goodbye, Julian. I walked away without looking back. Adrian appeared, offering a bottle of water. All right, he asked softly. Perfect. I smiled, accepting it. Let's go home. He draped sterling arm over my shoulders and guided me out. Behind us Julian's hoarse bow echoed. Arya. I'll prove it to you. I'll make you see how much I love you. I never turned, my steps carried me toward a new life. Some mistakes, once made, are permanent. Some pain, once endured, scars forever. Once I believed love meant endurance. Now I know, without respect, devotion is mere intoxicating farce. Outside, sunlight bathed the plaza, warm and bright. In that glow I understood, rebirth isn't just leaving the past, it's claiming the future. And my future has nothing to do with Julian, it belongs to me alone. Julian refused to quit. He materialized wherever I appeared. He haunted the plaza beneath my office, day and night. He littered my route with flowers and handwritten apologies. He showed up at every event to voice his remorse. But I had locked my heart. His suffering stirred nothing. His regret found no crack. I simply watched, then walked away. Trust, once shattered, can't be rebuilt. For 3 days Julian knelt outside my loft, winter wind whipping his skin purple, face bloodless. Rain soaked him, still he knelt, unmoving. Mr. Vance, you'll collapse. Headquarters needs you, his assistant pleaded beneath sterling umbrella. Leave me, Julian croaked. Go back, but, go. His bark cracked through the storm. The assistant departed, defeated. From my window I watched him, 3 days, no food, no water, just stubborn penance on cold concrete. My nails dug crescents into my palms, my throat stung. You still care, Adrian murmured behind me. I faced him, forcing a smile. Not really. I'm merely reflecting on how strange humans are, how we hurt ourselves knowing it hurts. Sure you won't give him another chance? Adrian joined me at the glass. Remember the doll Dad gave me when I was 6? I asked instead. The porcelain one, you took it everywhere, bed, table, even the bath. I adored it. Then its arm snapped off. I cried all day. Dad bought replacements, but I never loved any the way I loved that first doll. Arya. Adrian squeezed my hand. Some things, once broken, stay broken, I whispered, eyes on the rain. Julian and I, that doll can't be glued back together. He needs to understand it's gone. Let him give up. Next morning he was still there when I left for work. Paper white, lips split, eyes inflamed. He tried to stand at the sight of me, numb legs buckled and he hit the pavement. Arya. My name rattled from his throat. I paused, expression flat. Julian, why torture yourself? I won't turn back. I know. He struggled upright. I only need to say I'm sorry. Sorry, Arya, sorry. He repeated it like a broken lullaby, voice shaking. I felt nothing. Julian, if apologies were enough, we wouldn't need courts, I said coldly. Some wounds never close. I know. His eyes squeezed shut. But I have to try, even if it's one chance in a million. I have to try. It's useless, I said, shaking my head. Julian, let yourself go. Let me go, too. When I finished, I turned and walked away. Behind me came Julian's heart-splitting sob. That cry held endless regret and despair. But my heart was already numb. It could no longer feel any pain. It would never again be stirred by anything he said or did. That day, Julian was ultimately rushed to the hospital. Cameron, a severe lung infection. The doctor said if he'd been brought in any later, it could have been life-threatening. Adrian told me the news while I was in the atelier developing a new fragrance. Do you want to go see him? Adrian asked. I shook my head and kept working. No need. He and I are already completely unrelated. Adrian sighed and said nothing more. He knew how much pain was hidden behind my resolve. Julian lay in bed in a daze for 3 days. The first words he spoke when he woke were still to ask where I was. Arya, he asked weakly. Arya didn't come, his mother said, sitting beside the bed, looking at him with worry. Chio, why do this to yourself? She's never been good enough for you, never. Mom, don't say that, Julian whispered, eyes shut. I'm the one who's not good enough for her. It's always been me who's not good enough for her. His mother sighed helplessly and took his hand. That girl from the Lillian family isn't perfectly fine? Mom, don't mention her. Julian's voice turned cold. She's the one who made me lose Arya. Fine, I won't say it, she murmured, stroking his forehead. Focus on getting well, everything else can wait. Mom, I want to see Arya. Julian opened his eyes, pleading. Please go find her for me, will you? You baby, I'm begging you, Mom, he clasped her hand. I really need to see her, even if it's the last time. Mrs. Vance looked at her son's haggard face, heart aching. All right, Mom will try. So Mrs. Vance came to my atelier in person and asked to see me. Arya, I know Cho wronged you, she said, taking my hands, face full of guilt. But he truly loves you. Auntie, you overrate your son's feelings for me, I said quietly, pulling my hands away. The person he's always loved isn't me. It's not like that, Arya, she insisted. Cho has been introverted since he was little. He doesn't show what he feels. He may not say it, but he's always cared inside. Is that so? I gave a cold laugh. Then why did he say I was merely Lillian's stand-in? Why, on my birthday, did he toss the cake I made into the trash? Why did he humiliate me, belittle me in front of everyone? Why, the moment he learned I was pregnant, did he tell me to get rid of the baby? Mrs. Vance's face went pale. Arya, baby, is all this true? Cho really did those things to you? More than that, my voice turned to ice. Did you know, Auntie? I gave up my dreams for him. I hid my identity for him. I bore countless cold stares and sneers for him. And him? He couldn't even give me the most basic respect. Mrs. Vance fell silent. After a long while she raised her head, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, Arya, she choked. We failed as parents. Cho, he's made many mistakes, it's true. But now he's truly remorseful, in great pain. He's gravely ill, calling your name nonstop. Arya, could you? Sorry, Auntie, I cut her off. Some wounds, once made, can't be mended. Julian and I are impossible now. Please go back. Looking at my firm gaze, she finally understood nothing would change. She sighed and stood slowly. I understand, baby, she said softly. I won't disturb you again. May you find someone better and a happier life. Riley for your wishes, Auntie. After I saw her out, I leaned against the door, suddenly overwhelmed by exhaustion. When Lillian heard Julian was in the hospital, she rushed over. She pushed the door open and saw him lying there, frighteningly pale. Julian, how are you? She cooed, walking to the bedside, reaching to stroke his face. He grabbed her wrist so hard she yelped. Get out. His voice was glacial, his eyes full of loathing. Why? Lillian stared, stunned. I came because I care. You drove wedges, you targeted Arya at every turn. He ground his teeth. I finally see, half the reason I lost her is you. What? You blame me? She shrieked. You're the one who didn't cherish her, who called her a stand-in yourself. True, I said that. Julian shut his eyes in agony. My stupidity, my arrogance, that's the root of it. You're insane. That Arya, what's so great? She only looks a bit like me. Lillian screamed. Julian's eyes snapped open, sharp as knives. Lillian, only now do I see you're not fit to be mentioned in the same breath as Arya. Her gentleness, her resilience, her talent, her wisdom, the unconditional love she gave me, and you? Nothing but schemes. You, Lillian shook with rage. Julian, you'll regret this. Without me you're nothing, out. He closed his eyes, cold. From this moment we are strangers. She stormed out, slamming the door, leaving Julian alone. Slowly he opened his eyes, tears slipped unchecked. Arya, I'm sorry. He whispered, voice breaking with regret. After discharge, Julian became a different man. He stopped attending any social function and threw himself into work. He personally handled every project tied to me, repairing the damage Lillian had caused. He began tracking my every mention, saving every press clipping. Whenever he saw me on screen, confident and poised, he would fall into long silence. One day a parcel arrived. Inside lay our marriage certificate, sliced in two, and a letter. Julian, when you read this, I have already started a new life. I want you to know, I don't hate you. Hatred takes emotional investment, and I refuse to spend another drop on you. In these 3 years we had warmth, we had touching moments, but far more pain and despair. Once, I thought loving someone meant accepting everything, even hurt. Now I know real love should be equal, mutual respect. You never truly respected me. In your eyes I was always a replacement, a toy you could discard. I've laid the past down, I hope you can too. Do not search for me again, grant me that final respect. Arya. Julian clutched the letter, tears streaming. He knew he had lost me for good, and it was all his own doing. From then on, Julian disappeared from public view. Occasionally someone saw him alone on the corner opposite my atelier, staring at the place he could never again enter. His eyes carried only regret and despair. Rowan, my fragrance house, grew day by day into sterling internationally renowned luxury label. Meanwhile, the Vance Group, through Julian's ruthless effort, weathered its crisis and returned to the top. He stood once more at the business summit, yet always alone. 5 years later, at Sterling International Fashion Gala, I ran into Julian. He was no longer the swaggering tycoon, his brow held the weariness of experience. The moment he saw me, surprise flickered, then settled into calm. Arya, he said softly, long time no see. Long time no see. I gave a slight nod, polite and distant. Are you doing well? He asked cautiously. Very well. I smiled faintly and turned to the man beside me. This is my fiancé, Ethan. A flicker of pain crossed Julian's eyes, but he quickly regained composure. Congratulations. He offered his hand to Ethan. I wish you every happiness, Riley. I nodded. Take care, Mr. Vance. And we passed each other like strangers. On the way back to the hotel, Ethan held my hand. That was Julian? Your ex-husband? I gave a soft answer. The way he looked at you, Ethan sighed, he still loves you. I was silent a moment, then shook my head. That no longer matters. What matters is that I'm happy now. Ethan squeezed my hand, eyes full of cherish. I'll spend my whole life showing you what real love is. I know. I leaned on his shoulder, warmth filling my heart. Some people are just passing travelers in life. They bring pain, they bring growth. But the one truly worth entrusting your life to will let you understand. Love is not possession, but respect and fulfillment. Julian, I have set down the hurts of the past. I hope you, too, can release your obsession and begin again. Because the most precious thing in life is never clinging to past regrets, but having the courage to face the future. This is my final gift to you. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with friends. We look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more wonderful stories. See you next time. Jason's father died young, and after his mother remarried, Hart developed a strange fixation. At 25, Hart became obsessed with the 45-year-old Phyllis. To keep her in sight, Hart hired her as his executive assistant. Within a month, Hart had her promoted to replace me as coup. When the flash flood hit, Hart abandoned both me and the grandmother who had raised him. Sophia, get lost. Hart blamed his Nana's death on me, threw me out at midnight, and dragged me through a divorce. Yet when I truly prepared to leave with my fiancé, Hart chased me all the way to Eastbrook, eyes shattered and desperate. Sophia, please don't go. That night was my birthday in our second year of marriage. I was rifling through Jason's recently deleted folder when I found a video of him and Phyllis. The thumbnail froze my lungs. Jason, unaware, stood with his back to me in a kitchen apron, lifting the lid on the claypot chicken Hart always cooks for my birthday. Just a few more minutes, sweetheart, Hart said, smiling over his shoulder. I mumbled an answer and tapped play. A 12-minute WhatsApp screen recording. Hart had pinned her feed to full screen. The woman had stripped, facing the lens. Jason's smaller window showed his rapt, trembling gaze. I closed my eyes, my palms shook. The folds of her belly bore violet stretch marks. I knew her, Phyllis, his new assistant of only a month. Dinner's ready, babe. Hart set the fragrant pot in front of me, the smell hit and I gagged. You okay? You're white as a sheet, should I call the doctor? Hart cupped my cheek. We've finally made it, haven't we? Not the broke kids who could only afford the mini claypot anymore. I stared at the table. 5 years earlier we'd been crammed into a 200-square-foot studio. We'd clip a coupon that covered a single mini claypot chicken with steamed rice. I'd add an extra portion of plain rice and the bill landed dead on $20. Jason would fish out a few scraps of bok choy, wolf down his serving, pat his stomach, and slide every piece of chicken thigh onto my plate. Eat up, wife, or I'll finish it, hearted tease, canine tooth flashing. Then at 3 a.m. I'd hear his hunger gurgle as Hart tossed and sighed. Why the tears? Hart dabbed the corner of my eye with his thumb. I came back to the present and dropped a chunk of meat into his bowl. Even now, in our villa with Hailtech on the stock exchange, Hart still cooks that simple claypot on my birthday, to honor the lean years. His own eyes were rimmed red as Hart lifted his chopsticks. A ringtone sliced the quiet. When Hart saw Phil on the screen, Hart answered instantly. Jason, my boy's stomach is killing me and his dad's away, so scared. Her broken sob yanked him to his feet. Hang on, Phil, I'm coming. Halfway to the door Hart remembered me and waved. I'll be right back, eat. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Go. Hart vanished. The piece of chicken I'd served him sat on the table, cold. I waited until 2 a.m., Hart never returned. I'd fought him over Phyllis all month, and because Hart always took her side I no longer had the strength to call. At dawn the phone jarred me awake, his side of the bed was still empty. Babe, I've thought it over, Hart chirped. I don't want you stressed, so let's take you out of the coup seat. Jason's father died early, the family firm collapsed. The next year his mother remarried. Nana raised him alone. His uncle started rival businesses and offered no help. Hart aced the city's top high school but quit to spare her tuition bills and spent 10 years on a construction site. 5 years ago we co-founded Hailtech. 2 years ago we signed the marriage license. I never cared about the coup title, anyone could have it, just not Phyllis. 45, with 30 days on the payroll, she was glaringly unqualified. So I vetoed his proposal without hesitation. Why? Hart sighed. Sweetheart, are you as narrow-minded as the bored fossils who look down on Phil? I hung up, drove to the tower. Inside the lobby, 5-year veteran Chloe marched out clutching a box. 2 coworkers trailed her. I only said that Assistant Rowan's old and slow. Why the termination letter? She sobbed. Been here since day one. Does Jason remember loyalty? They glanced at me. Shut it, everyone knows the boss shields her, and you still charged the gun. I rode the elevator, strode to his office. The door was ajar, Phyllis's muffled weeping leaked through. Maybe I shouldn't stay. Jason crooned, don't say that, what would I do without you? My pulse pounded, I shut the door. My husband, like a homesick child, had buried his face between her breasts. Black dots swarmed my vision, I gripped the handle. Phyllis gasped, they sprang apart. Jason, unruffled, guided me to a chair. Listen, love, Hart murmured, brows arched in coaxing apology. With Hailtech stable you don't need to sweat the details, spend time with Nana instead. We've been married 2 years, time to try for a baby. His warm palm covered mine, I felt ice. When I opened my mouth his voice snapped cold. The board can't veto me, Sophia, can't you act like a proper wife for once? That stare, vacant, merciless, I'd seen it 5 years ago when a site foreman pinned him and Hart answered with a brick. I shivered and gave a tiny nod. I've always known. Jason clawed his way up, fierce and unyielding. Once Hart decides, bones break before heart bends. Fine. Nana hates the nursing home, go pick her up and bring her home. Hart swapped his scowl for a smile, stroked my head the way you calm a puppy. I left the office like a puppet, like a defeated general slinking off the battlefield. From start to finish, Phyllis never said a word. She only smiled faintly, watching me sideways. She knew my husband would fix everything for her. I drove through the storm to the nursing home. The aides inside were frantic. The old lady ran outside. Jason's Nana was 85, her mind clouded by Alzheimer's, her legs unreliable. Where could she go? I knew how much she meant to him, so I speed dialed his number. First call, no answer. Second call, Phyllis picked up. Jason's in the shower, his phone's out here. She told me, voice syrupy with laughter. Yet I could hear her echo in the receiver, the hiss of the shower, the swallowed gasps. Tell Jason's missing. I shut my eyes and hung up. The aides and I circled the city for half an hour before rescue rang. They said she was on the riverfront gathering driftwood that the current had carried down. When her own children abandoned her and she'd raised Jason in poverty, she'd collect riverwood every rainy season for firewood. Her memory was frozen in Jason's childhood. My nose stung. When I reached her, she was almost swept away by the muddy current. Rescue couldn't hold her. I sloshed in, dragged her ashore, and a dozen reporters lunged, shutters clicking. Sophia, what the hell are you doing? Jason arrived in a rage, just in time to see me hauling Nana toward the cameras. Hart wrapped his groggy grandmother in his coat, grabbed my collar, and hissed, "You can't even protect an old woman, trying to humiliate me on purpose? Hailtech is a marquee name in Eastbrook, haven't you got that much common sense?" I knew how much the self-made, face-saving Jason cared, but there'd been no time to think. I kept silent, my cold lips trembling. Hart glanced at my drenched clothes, a flicker of pity in his eyes. "And you still have the nerve to look down on Phil." If she hadn't guessed Nana would be at the river, I couldn't have gotten here so fast. Phyllis patted Jason's arm, unruffled. "Let it go, Jason, Nana comes first. Your wife didn't mean any harm." Those two sentences smoothed his scowl. "That's why I said step down as COO and take a real rest." Hart put me in the car with Nana and headed for St. Mary's. Up front, Phyllis rattled on about her two boys, Jason listening while Hart drove, a soft smile tugging at his eyes. "Oh, speaking of my little guys," Phyllis knit her delicate brows. "They'll be out of school soon, Jason, I have to pick them up." She reached for the door, but Jason caught her wrist. "No way, Phil, you don't drive, and you won't find a cab in this rain. I'll take you." Phyllis glanced back at Nana and me. "But you need to get Nana to the hospital, and there's no room for everyone." Jason braked and met my eyes in the mirror, his gaze flickering. "Babe, grab a cab and take Nana to the hospital. I'll be right behind you." I never thought Hart'd actually dump me there. I stood outside the window, glaring through the passenger glass. "Jason, didn't you see the news? The river's rising, it'll hit downtown any minute." "What about Nana?" Jason raked a hand through his hair. "I said I'll be back." Hart sped away with Phyllis. Hart never guessed that half an hour later Hart would lose the woman Hart loved most. By then Nana and I were in a yellow cab, 500 yards from St. Mary's. Traffic froze, people abandoned their cars. I saw brown water surging up the street, carrying trash and whole tree trunks. Screams whipped past us. The road behind was blocked too. Flash flood, the driver shrieked, and bolted. My hands went limp, but I clutched Nana's wrist. "No, I have to wait for Jason." Alzheimer's chose that moment to tighten its grip. She turned stubborn as stone, I couldn't budge her. In 2 minutes water filled the floorboards. Nana insisted on waiting for her husband, so I fought down panic and video called Jason. "Jason, the flood's here, come get us." Nana won't move. The second his face appeared I broke down. His end was chaos, Phyllis's 2 kids shrieking in the back seat. "Jason, what do I do?" The frame caught half of Phyllis's face as she clung to his arm in the front. "Can't we keep going? Get the kids somewhere safe first?" I saw her tears soak his sleeve. "Jason." I was desperate. On-screen Hart clenched his jaw. "Babe, take Nana and run with the crowd. I've got to get the kids to safety." Hart gave me a quick, soothing look, then cut the call. I lowered the phone, water already at my thighs. "Water, water." Nana finally panicked and crawled from the cab. I fought floating debris, shoved her up onto a delivery van. People on a second-floor balcony hauled us up. But Nana's mind snapped again. She mumbled about finding her grandson and plunged into water over an adult's head. "Nana." I'd just reached the roof. When I grabbed for her, she yanked me in. Later, bitter muddy water closed over me, and I lost her hand. When I came to, I lay in a rescue rubber dinghy. Nana lay beside me, breathless, an officer's jacket covering her face. Terror and guilt shook me so hard my teeth rattled. She was Jason's only family. What would Hart think of me? Babe. The cruel twist, Jason's own rescue boat idled up seconds later. Hart leaned over, checking me for injuries. Only when Hart was sure I was intact did Hart exhale. Then Hart noticed the sleeve poking from beneath the jacket, his pupils shrank. What happened to Nana? Words jammed in my throat, mouth full of river grit. Say something. Why are you crying? Hart shook my shoulders. When I still couldn't speak, Hart jerked the coat back. Then came the collapse. Jason, don't blame Sophia. In a crisis people save themselves first, it's instinct. Phyllis tossed the death at my feet, light as a feather. I glared at her through clenched teeth, only to see Jason's coat draped over her shoulders. Phyllis, even at a time like this you still want to drive a wedge between us? Rage and grief had already scrambled my mind. I hissed a curse. The next second Jason's arm whipped up and a slap crashed across my face. Sophia. That was my grandmother. His eyes were red and swollen, revulsion pouring out of them. I told you to look after Nana, how could you? Hart buried his face in his hands, falling apart. She was the only family I had left. Blood dripped from my nose, dotting my arm. I smeared it away. It's not like that, Jason, I didn't abandon Nana. Remembering the scene, I sobbed as I spoke. The flash flood came too fast, too fierce. I pushed her up onto the roof of the car, but Jason wouldn't listen, his world had collapsed. Sophia, you killed her. From this day on we're enemies for life. The moment Nana's burial is over, we file for divorce. When the waters finally receded I drifted home like a ghost. Nana was taken to the funeral home, Jason ran around arranging everything and never looked at me again. Hart simply tossed a divorce agreement at my feet. I hid in the bedroom, afraid to step out. With Nana's memorial portrait in the living room, guilt gnawed at me, and Phyllis seized the chance to move her 2 boys into the guest wing. Her excuse, her own house had been flooded. The kids tore through the halls all day, toppling priceless vases and scrolls, shrieking nonstop. Then they hammered on my bedroom door. Get out, murderer. Mom says this is her room now. They kicked the door open, grabbed my hair, and yanked. I looked up and saw Nana's portrait in the living room defaced with red marker scribbles. Fury shot through me. I grabbed each of them by the collar and flung them onto the broken porcelain shards. The boys were cut, blood pooling on the floor, bawling at the top of their lungs. Just then Phyllis walked in supporting a haggard Jason. At the sight of her bleeding sons she nearly fainted. Sophia, what are you doing? Jason stared at me, exhausted, his eyes ice cold. You caused Nana's death. You should be grateful I haven't thrown you out. And now you dare hurt 2 children? I gave a cold laugh, watching him pull the woman Hart called Phil into his arms. Right, I killed Nana and hurt your mistress's kids. What are you going to do about it? I wiped away the tears that slid down silently. Jason's eyes turned glacial. Hart stepped forward and clamped a hand around my throat, grinding his teeth. Spit out your poison again? Lightheaded from lack of air, I flung the signed divorce papers in his face and sneered. Mad because the truth stings? Shall I forward that little screen recording of you 2 to Phyllis's husband? I snatched Jason's phone and scrolled to the video. He instinctively covered the boy's eyes. Sophia. Jason's gaze was black. Hart looked ready to devour me. Hand the phone back. Now. Tears fell as I opened his contacts. To get Phyllis hired, Jason had even given her husband a job in the company warehouse. So now you're both scared? I located Phyllis's husband and pressed call. Jason, what do we do? My husband will kill me. Phyllis clung to Jason, knees buckling. Jason clenched his jaw, slapped the phone away just as it connected, and raised his hand. I lifted my chin and stared straight at him. The look in my eyes stung him. The blow never landed. What, afraid to hit me? I tried to laugh it off, but my voice cracked. Jason, you think you love Phyllis? You're just a love-starved kid looking for a mother substitute. Jason said nothing, only stared with frigid silence. I picked up the portrait the boys had ruined, wiped it clean, and set it back on the table. You play the devoted grandson, but if you hadn't dumped us on the road Nana would still be alive. You're the one who killed her. Jason's jaw locked. Finally Hart rasped, Sophia, get out. Phyllis hugged her sons and murmured, Jason, it's not your fault. Hart gently lifted her hand away. His eyes stayed fixed on me, but I didn't notice. I dried my tears and walked out with my head high. Jason, let's never meet again. The cold wind along the curb made my head throb. I thought of the 10 years I'd stayed in Eastbrook for Jason. We'd starved together, been cursed by landlords for unpaid rent, endured scorn on construction sites. Yet we had survived. I'd believed Jason and I had become family, bone deep. Turned out we couldn't beat a 45-year-old Phyllis. I cried and laughed by turns, then blacked out on the roadside. Just before everything went dark I heard a familiar Sophie. I never imagined I'd see Julian in inland Eastbrook. A trust fund playboy from Harbor City. What was Hart doing here? That was the first thing I asked when I woke in the hospital. Julian pulled off his mask and shrugged with a lazy smile. Grandfather's sick of my face. When Hart saw the flood hit Eastbrook, Hart packed me off for some character building. Then his expression turned serious. Also, your old man asked me to bring you home. Your 2 elder sisters died in a car crash last month. You're now the only daughter the Hart family has left. Before I drifted to Eastbrook I had been the youngest, most invisible child of the Harbor City Harts. I met my father once, at my mother's funeral. Hart had empires and multiple wives, 7 or 8 children. My mother's pregnancy had been an accident. Without his recognition I was doomed to be a nameless bastard. So I came to distant Eastbrook and met Jason, who had a past as lonely as mine. The year we founded Hailtech we were short of capital. I dialed my father for the first time, almost begging, and secured 60% of the startup money. Jason never knew the largest anonymous equity stake belonged to me. Julian snapped his fingers, yanking me back. You've seen the headlines, the Von Hart dynastic marriage? I nodded. So your fiancé died and you need a replacement? Hart grinned casually. So, will you, Sophia, stand in for your late sister? I answered without hesitation. This was my only ticket back into the Hart family. Of course I would. As for love, that had stopped mattering long ago. Julian booked me a flight 3 days later. My phone pinged. I glanced down. Jason, where are you? I didn't reply. Standing before Nana's memorial tablet, Jason stared at his phone, restless. Hart had seen the graffiti scrawled across Eleanor's memorial portrait last night. Hart just hadn't said anything. Phyllis had been docile, quick to read the room. She'd scolded her kids right in front of him for a full 5 minutes. Hart had no excuse to lash out at someone else's children. Someone else's? A shiver ran through him. Yes. No matter how desperately Hart leaned on Phyllis, some part of him still filed her under outsider. Jason remembered the way Sophia had hurled the 2 kids out of the master suite last night. Her face had been ice. Now Hart regretted agreeing this morning when Phyllis begged to move into that same room. Listening to her children rampage in there, Hart felt a hot surge of irritation. Why hadn't Hart emptied the recently deleted folder in the photo album? Hart had always known his own twisted appetites, so when Hart met Sophia, willing to endure hardship beside him, Hart had buried them deep. Maybe the last 2 years of soaring profits had made him soft. In a reckless moment Hart had made Phyllis his executive assistant, then promoted her to COO. The more Hart thought about it, the angrier Hart got. The longer Hart waited for a message from Sophia, the more frantic Hart became. She'd gone out last night wearing nothing but a thin silk dress. Unable to stop himself, Jason pulled strings and traced her phone. St. Anne's Hospital? His chest tightened with the same dull ache Hart had felt when Eleanor died. Hart bolted out the door and sped to the hospital. Julian was spoon-feeding me porridge when Jason burst into the ward. Sweetheart, are you okay? Hart lunged forward and grabbed my hand. Where does it hurt? Julian shifted aside, bowl in hand, smile lazy. She was passed out on the curb, almost scooped up by drunk scavengers. How could she possibly be fine? Jason glanced at the porcelain bowl and frowned. Who are you? Julian lifted an innocent shoulder, laughing softly. Relax, I'm the attending who brought her in last night. Jason's coiled muscles loosened at once. Thank you for saving my wife. I'll send you a commendation plaque. A snort escaped me. Jason, are you sleepwalking? We signed the papers last night. What makes you think you can still call me your wife? Jason pressed his lips together, exhaling in defeat. Baby, are you still mad? Pain and helplessness flickered across his eyes. I was harsh, I apologize. Rescue told me everything. Nana pulled you into the water, her death isn't on you. We've had each other's backs for years. If you can just accept Phil, we can pretend none of this ever happened. Before Hart could finish I slapped his hand away. Jason, have you lost your mind? I stared into his stunned pupils and let out a cold laugh. You cheated on me with a 45-year-old woman, abandoned Nana and me for a quick thrill, and now you speak to me like you're doing me a favor? Aren't you ashamed? Jason's eyes flashed with outrage. Sophia, you're the only family I have left. Don't humiliate me. Fine, then. Hart clenched his teeth, yanked me upright. We've got the agreement. Let's hit City Hall right now. The 4 needle ripped free, pain buckled my knees. Julian steadied me, eyes glacial on Jason. I gritted a reassurance at Julian, then met Jason's gaze. Relax, I'll go with you. The moment the clerk stamped the divorce decree, I walked away without looking back. Jason kicked his own tire so hard the rubber tore. Then a text summoned him to an emergency shareholders meeting. On the third day, Jason marched into Hailtech with Phyllis beside him as COO, and froze when Hart saw Julian and me already seated. What are you two doing here? Hart scowled, then shrugged. Right, you still own 3%. Chairman Dillon cut off his muttering. Last night an anonymous shareholder suggested we strip Phyllis of her COO title. All in favor? Resentment toward her ran deep, hands shot up. Only Jason glared at Dillon. She's my hire. Why the vendetta? Under the table Phyllis clutched his sleeve, near tears. Dillon opened his mouth. I spoke first. It's settled. Objections are pointless. Phyllis no longer belongs in this room, she can see herself out. Jason sneered. Sophia, a mini-stake doesn't give you the mic. I held his stare until Alex, the VP of Finance, cleared his throat. Ms. Hart isn't a mini anything. Beyond her 3%, she's our majority shareholder. Jason blinked. What? Dillon straightened. She never told you? We learned 30 minutes before you arrived. Jason's mind raced, disbelief warping his face. You hid this for 5 years? Where did you even get that capital? When I stayed silent, Casey, legal counsel, spoke up. Doesn't matter. Ms. Hart will transfer all shares to Dillon and leave Eastbrook. Jason's stomach lurched. Leave? Sophia, where are you going? Julian lounged back, grinning. She's coming home with me, for the Von Hart dynastic wedding, of course. Hart skewered Jason with a look of pure contempt. Surely you've heard the Vons and Harts are uniting? Of course Hart had only Sophia Hart. A tremor shot through him. Hart shot up and grabbed my wrist. Outside. Now. Explain. I shook him off, eyes arctic. Explain what? Jason, you've got unfinished business here. Before the words left my mouth a man burst in, fist tangled in Phyllis's hair. Slut. Screwing around while I'm out of town? Phyllis crashed to the carpet, shrieking. Jason, help me. Jason stood frozen, then whipped toward me. You sent the screen recording to her husband? My smile was answer enough. After 2 ringing slaps, the husband wheeled on Jason. Mr. Hale, I thought that 12 grand a month gig was charity. Turns out you wanted my leftovers. She's old enough to be your mother. Disgusting much? You tossed away a devoted young wife for my cast-off shoe? The man's profanity sprayed like buckshot. Board members gawked, employees jammed the hallway. Phyllis kept sobbing for rescue. Jason's face turned charcoal, veins corded his forearms, 1 second from brawling. Then, sudden and absolute, revulsion for Phyllis flooded him. Back then Hart had leaned on her because she was married with kids, close to his mother's age, easy to treat as a stand-in and milk for comfort. Now Phyllis had become a headache, hysterical, nothing like the bottomless maternal mirror Hart could gaze into. The tastelessness was unbearable. Besides, Sophia was about to leave. Jason had no patience for the circus in front of him. Hart simply stretched his hand across the conference table toward me, voice soft, almost coaxing. Darling, come home with me. I lifted my eyes. Hart had slipped back into the gentle face I once knew. When I didn't answer, his brows knitted and Hart reached to circle my waist. Julian stepped between us. Mr. Hale. His smile was polite, but his eyes were shards of ice. Sophia and I have a plane to catch. Don't block the aisle. Jason's face darkened terrifyingly. Hart swung a fist and the two grappled. The boardroom dissolved into chaos. Shareholders ducked and shook their heads. Phyllis wailed as her husband dragged her out. I tracked the fight. Jason had grown up on construction lots. Every blow meant damage, and Julian was already losing ground. I smashed a teacup and barked, Jason, enough. Hart froze, panting, a cut on his chin, frowning at me. I shoved him aside, helped Julian up, and inspected the bruises starting on his cheek. Let's go. Airport. I walked Julian out without a single glance back. Jason had never felt this desolate. Hart remembered 5 years ago when Sight mocked him for being scrawny. They'd fought for half an hour until Sight's face was bloodied and Hart begged for mercy. Somehow Sophia heard, came sprinting to the Sight, wrapped gauze around his knuckles while crying her heart out. Her eyes brimming, voice choking as she asked if Hart was hurt. That image had stayed with him. but now Hart stared at the empty conference room. The tender, steadfast woman who had endured hardship beside him for years was gone. A spasm shot through his chest. Hart stumbled out. "Sophia, come back." I hadn't expected him to chase me all the way to Eastbrook Airport. The cut on his chin was still bleeding, drops blooming red on his white shirt. "Honey, don't go." Hart seized my hand, head lowered, voice shaking. In all these years Hart had smiled at me, raged, coaxed, never sounded this fragile. "My mother remarried and forgot me, those uncles only sneered. The grandmother who raised me is dead. Darling, you're my only family left. I have no one but you." "Horse," Hart pleaded, "I never meant to hurt you. I'm love-starved, I lose control, I thought you'd never walk away." Acid rose in my throat. I tilted my head to trap the tears, then yanked my hand free. "Jason, 10 years at your side is enough. If I turn back, you'll wound me again. The scars you carry from childhood can't be bandaged by goodwill." Yes, I had tried. From the first days in that cramped studio I'd known his hunger. Hart had been humiliated by bosses, gone hungry, taken beatings. A hypersensitive boy desperate for a mother's love. I recognized it because I was the same. Shared pain bred bottomless tolerance. We licked each other's wounds in our tiny nest. But I'm no savior. I met his shattered gaze and choked out, "Jason, we are finished." For the last time, like those nights in the studio, I lifted my hand and brushed his hair. Then I turned away. Security held him back as Hart rasped my name. That day we severed every thread. After we landed, Julian brought me to Hart House to meet my frail, aging father, only the second time in 10 years. Hart traced my brows, struggling to recall my mother's face, trying to bridge the gulf. "I've allowed your mother's memorial tablet into the Hart Ancestral Hall," Hart intoned, expecting gratitude. I simply smiled. Hart didn't know Mother had never wanted entry, she'd wanted freedom, and told me to chase whatever I desired. What I desired now was the Hart fortune and the power that came with it. So I asked, sweetly, offhandedly, what dowry Hart planned when I married into the Vaughn estate. Next day the steward showed me the 2 5-star hotels signed over to me, plus downtown penthouses, office towers, and a bank equity stake, more than enough. I would leverage Hart connections slowly. News of my return and upcoming wedding swept Eastbrook's press. Julian's polished looks and air status drew media fans, and after our hotel inspection we were mobbed. "Taylor, does it bother you that your fiancé is divorced? Your family has never welcomed a second marriage, what do they say? Is this a dynastic marriage in name only? Do you keep separate lives?" Julian kept smiling, voice unruffled. "Whether Sophia's first marriage ended matters nothing to me, or to my family. What matters is that she's come back to me." Hart tightened his arm around my waist. The crowd buzzed at the word back. I blinked, and boarding the car I clipped my knee, splitting skin. Julian lifted me, worry and scolding in his eyes. "Sophie, are you okay?" The childhood nickname unsettled me. Before Mother and I were driven out, the Vaughn's second son had sneaked candies into our yard, calling me Sophie all along. When we had left the hotel far behind, Julian finally murmured, "Every word I told the press was true." I laughed softly. I know, truth or not, it didn't matter. I watched the city slide past, yet felt his gentle gaze never leave my face. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you enjoyed it, please like and share with friends. We look forward to your comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.
Chloe had hacked her way through 3 years of thorns and overtime, and at last she stood as Sterling's vice president. She was certain the succession race was in the bag after all. She was the only candidate the chairman had ever privately endorsed. Yet at the decisive ballot her husband, fellow senior executive Hunter, delivered the swing vote to the ingenue in his own division, Sophie. The last vote, Hunter. The executive conference room was so quiet a paperclip could have been heard hitting carpet. 30-odd officers pivoted toward the man at the far end of the table, impeccable in charcoal wool, face carved into neutral. Chloe's heart lurched. She stared at the hand that held the ballot card. The knuckles were white. That single card would crown the next heir. She had assumed that vote was bedrock. He was her husband. For 3 married years she had stayed up until dawn ghostwriting his deal decks, taking arrows meant for him. But Hunter looked down, scratched 2 words. Sophie. The wall screen refreshed. Sophie, 16. Chloe, 15. She had lost. Felled by the man she went home with. Scattered applause broke out. Sophie rose as if she'd read the script weeks ago, smiled sweetly, and said, "Quinn everyone for trusting me, and thank Hunter for that final show of support." Then she angled her head toward Chloe, red lips curling in the shape of a harmless rabbit. "Alex, so sorry, 1 vote short. Better luck next round." Chloe didn't move. She searched Hunter's eyes for one flicker of remorse. He only looked away, as though brushing off static. At that instant it felt as if someone had reached into her ribcage and ripped out her heart while it was still beating. "Chloe, do you honestly think I stole your chair?" Sophie's voice floated again, laced with an almost flirtatious whine. "I've always respected you, but you're just so intense. The company needs a leader who can balance all sides, right?" Translation: she wins, then rubs salt in the wound. Chloe's gaze went arctic. "So you're saying I'm unfit?" Sophie fluttered her lashes in instant denial. "Only stating facts. If someone chooses to take it personally, I can't help that." "You, Chloe, the meeting is still in session." Hunter's tone was low, cold, a slap delivered without raising a hand. Silence slammed down. Chloe finally understood. This wasn't her loss, it was a calculated ambush. She closed her eyes, then smiled. "All right. Message received." She unclipped her executive badge and set it on the table like a poker chip. "If you guys want to play hard, ante up, I'm all in." She turned and walked out, leaving 30 speechless executives behind. No one noticed that, once past the door, her nails had sliced crescents into her palms. Sophie never imagined victory would have a 3-day expiration date. She had barely warmed the leather of her new corner suite chair and was about to ink her first VP-level promotion contract when her assistant burst in, pale. "Sophie, something's wrong." Sophie frowned. "Define wrong." The assistant lowered her voice. "Hunter's accounts are frozen. Risk management just got word some rebate scheme in the Starlight project is under forensic audit. The entire task force unit has been hauled in for interviews." "What did you say?" Sophie shot up so fast the chair slammed into the desk with a dull crack. She grabbed her phone and dialed Hunter. No answer. She tried again, powered off. Anxiety spread through her chest like spilled ink in water. He swore every document was sanitized. How can audit still find a trail? Muttering, she snatched her handbag and headed for finance. Before she crossed the threshold, her phone buzzed with a finance feed breaking alert. Breaking. Sterling Group exec suspected of channeling kickbacks, internal compliance unit on site. Core project files leaked, fund flows anomalous. Hand trembling, she almost dropped the device. Top comment: "She's not trying to win anymore, she's decided you have to lose." A chill climbed Sophie's spine. She bolted from the office, shouting, "Find Chloe, now." The assistant hesitated. Taylor, just re-entered the boardroom as majority shareholder. "Come again." Sophie screamed. She bought out Farpeak's sterling stake. Filed 15 minutes ago. She now outranks the Rowan family. The board recognizes her as controlling shareholder. For a heartbeat Sophie couldn't breathe, hammered by the realization. Chloe hadn't surrendered. She had simply swapped entrances, stepping over the boardroom ceiling instead of the doorway. That afternoon an emergency session was called. Chloe walked in wearing jet black tailoring, a slim folder tucked under one arm, every stride calm and precise. Executives fell mute. She sat, flipped the file open, and spoke as though reading a grocery list. Item 1. In the Starlight project, Hunter opened a covert rebate account and leaked bid floors. Internal audit has commenced. Compliance is involved. Item 2. Sophie's educational credentials on file do not match her verified transcript. She altered employment dates multiple times. All executive and operational authority is suspended pending verification. Sophie slammed both palms on the mahogany. "Chloe, have you lost your mind?" She jabbed a finger, voice shrill. "I was elected by this board. You can't touch me." Chloe lifted her gaze, voice gentle as silk sliding over steel, controlling shareholder, interim board chair, head of the personnel committee. "Tell me, what exactly can't I do?" Not a single director dared exhale. Sophie stood frozen, finally grasping that the day she collected 16 votes she had simply walked into a trap baited with her own arrogance. Chloe's opening gambit had been a mirage of defeat, Sophie's victory lap had exposed every card she held. While Chloe spent 3 years building the board's respect, she had also built the cage. 3 winters ago, Chloe still remembered. 3 a.m., floor lamp humming, office lights the only constellation left in Midtown. Starlight numbers carpeted the carpet. Her eyes burned, but she kept the model pinned to the 3rd decimal. "Chloe, I could do this. I just can't do it without you," Hunter said, half sitting on the desk, cappuccino extra dry in hand, smile tender and exhausted. In that instant she believed charging the ramparts for him was destiny. They had been married less than a year. Tongues wagged that she'd married down, that he was a resume riding her coattails. She took every dart, vouched for him in the boardroom, stapled her reputation to his promotion package. Once, lips against her ear, he had whispered, "Chloe, you are the safest card I will ever hold. As long as you're in my hand, I can't lose." She had believed so completely she had handed him the entire deck. Now she knew, he had never wanted to win the game, he had wanted to play it with her as the stake. Chloe closed the folder and swept the room with a wintry glance. "A personnel restructure will be circulated within 72 hours. Anyone under review is expected to cooperate. Otherwise, consequences will be self-inflicted." Each syllable fell like a blade. Sophie's voice cracked. "Aren't you afraid people will say you're settling scores? You're burning every bridge." Chloe looked back, expression as smooth as glass. "You're assuming you have a face I still need to tear off." The meeting ended in a hush broken only by the staccato of her Louboutins receding down the corridor, measured, unhurried, a metronome counting down to retribution. Back in her office, she stopped at the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing over the neon arteries of the island. On the desk lay the document she had signed days earlier, Farpeak's share transfer agreement. The instant her fountain pen lifted, Sterling had changed dynasties. She powered her phone off and murmured to the glass, "The hunter's back. Time for the coyotes to scatter." Next morning Chloe stepped into the boardroom and felt the static before she saw it. Directors clustered in 2s and 3s, conversations dying as she entered. Sophie sat in the corner, face bloodless, eyes 2 coals of disbelief. Hunter didn't even dare look her in the eye. "Everybody," Sam said, voice eerily calm, "I'm sure you all know what happened yesterday." Old director Walter cleared his throat. "Taylor, your comeback caught us off guard. But those accusations you made yesterday, they're not accusations," Chloe cut in, pulling a thick folder from her briefcase. "They're facts." She slid the first document to the center of the table. Hunter's irregularities in the Starlight project, bank transfers, wire records, and audio. Hunter's head snapped up. "You recorded me. You should have seen this day coming 3 years ago." Without glancing at him, Chloe pushed forward a second folder. Sophie's forged education. Here's her verified transcript. The overseas MBA she brags about. 3-month language course. Sophie shot to her feet. "How did you get that?" "Want to know?" Chloe finally looked at her, a cold curve on her lips. "Because for the last 3 months I've been waiting for today." The executive conference room was so quiet a paperclip could have been heard hitting carpet. Avery spoke. "The Farpeak hostile takeover wasn't improvisation. From the day you started scheming, I was drafting the blueprint. Acquisition, investigation, evidence, 3 months spent mapping every skeleton in your closets." Walter couldn't help asking, "Then why resign?" "Because only when they thought they'd won would they show their whole hand." Chloe's tone carried a trace of mockery. "Sophie, you really believed you could do whatever you wanted once I was gone? You never noticed every step you took was already numbered." Sophie's face drained from white to green. You set us up." "Set you up?" Chloe laughed softly. "You jumped into the grave all by yourselves. I merely dug it." She rose, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, back to the room. 3 years I swallowed every insult, gave ground at every turn. You mistook me for a soft touch. But you forgot I didn't climb from analyst to vice president on luck. She turned, her gaze swept every director. "Now the rules change. I write them. Rule 1. Anyone involved in violations is suspended pending investigation. Rule 2. All major decisions require my sign-off. Rule 3. I alone control every hire and fire. Someone muttered, "Isn't that a bit?" "A bit what?" Chloe's voice iced over. "Too ruthless? Too unsympathetic?" She strode back, palms flattening on the table as she leaned forward. "Tell me, when you colluded to push me out, did sympathy cross your minds?" Not a whisper answered her. Straightening, she adjusted her blazer. "Starting today, Sterling's entire middle and upper management will be audited. The org chart gets shuffled. Sophie, stripped of duties, pending inquiry. Hunter, assets frozen, full cooperation required." Sophie slammed both hands on mahogany. "Chloe, have you lost it? Who do you think you are, Empress?" Chloe met her fury with glacial calm. "I'm majority shareholder and effective controller of this company. Who am I? Decide for yourself. You're abusing power for personal vendetta." Sophie's finger trembled mid-air. "You can't stand that Hunter and I are together." "Oh." Chloe arched a brow. "And what does you two being together have to do with me?" Sophie froze. Avery spoke again. "I'm already divorced from Hunter, he can date whoever he likes. But," her voice turned razor sharp, "touch my company, undermine my interests, and it becomes my business." She sat back, calm restored. "Understand this, Sophie. I'm coming after you not because you stole my man, but because your stupidity is in my way." A director ventured, "Cameron, fresh off your return, moves this drastic." Chloe merely glanced at him. "I'm simply swapping your rulebook for mine." The sentence rippled through the room like a stone dropped in still water. By the time the board dispersed, news had streaked through every floor. Employees whispered in pantries and over cubicle walls, some gleeful, others fearing collateral damage. Chloe's assistant knocked. "Cameron, it's everywhere. People are talking. Let them." Chloe didn't look up from her documents. "Nothing I did belongs in the dark. They say Ms. Rowan is calling reporters to issue a statement." Chloe lifted her head, a meaningful smile forming. "Let her. I'd love to see what flower she paints." That afternoon Chloe's phone buzzed non-stop, friends, co-workers, college classmates she hadn't heard from in years. "Chloe, rumor has it you're back on the warpath." "Cameron, congrats, Dylan Energy. Boss move. We're reposting every article on Instagram." She answered each politely, knowing most were spectators. The real battle had only begun. Night settled, Manhattan glimmered beyond her corner suite. On the desk lay a fresh equity report. Sterling's stock had wavered, but investors liked her return more than they feared boardroom bloodletting. The phone rang. "Lincoln." "Chloe, today was nuclear," the litigator said, worry threading his voice. "Even with proof, going that hard could make more enemies." She chuckled. "I've got nothing left to lose. I'm saying cornered rats bite. Then let them leap," she answered, serene. "The higher the jump, the harder the landing." She hung up, walked to the window, watching sparse midnight traffic. 3 years earlier she had stood here too, then waiting for Hunter so they could grab late-night ramen, dreaming they'd conquer Wall Street side by side, grow old together. Sentiment felt absurd now. Her phone rang again, unknown number. "Cameron, this is a reporter from Financial Weekly. Could we schedule?" "No interviews." She cut the call. But that was only the opener. Within an hour a dozen outlets phoned. Word had seeped outside finance circles. Next morning, before she reached Sterling, her assistant messaged, "Cameron, the internet's on fire, look at trending hashtag." She opened Weibo. Ranked third was #Sterling female director returns with force #. Inside the tag were wild speculations. Insider, Chloe's back for revenge on cheating ex and mistress. Hostile shakeup, largest shareholder boots exec VP. Real-life palace fight, ex-wife versus homewrecker, who survives? Chloe laughed aloud. Their creativity turned a standard takeover into primetime melodrama. One comment caught her eye, strike the serpent at its 7-inch mark. This Cameron knows her aim. Exactly my thought, she mused. At headquarters the atmosphere had shifted. Employees eyed her with new or former slights replaced by caution. In the elevator 2 junior analysts whispered, "Cameron just obliterated Sophie. Original beats knockoff, why should the real deal cede ground? Evidence was brutal, Rowan's fraud is viral." Chloe listened, expressionless, inwardly satisfied. Narrative flowed her way. 10 a.m., Mid-meeting, her secretary entered. Cameron, reporters downstairs wanting comment. Tell security to escort them off property. Also, Ms. Rowan's attorney has arrived asking to meet. Chloe capped her pen. He can wait. After the session adjourned, she received the lawyer in her office, 40-something, tailored suit, grave expression. Cameron, I represent Sophie. We protest yesterday's character assassination and professional slander. She raised a hand. Assassination? Slander? Be specific. I'm casting doubt. Chloe pulled a folder from her drawer. Here's Sophie's verified transcript and her early work history. Tell me, where exactly is the doubt? I'm simply stating facts. The lawyer took the file, flipped through a few pages, and his complexion changed. Avery, as for character, when did I ever say she had a character problem? I only said she's incompetent. Isn't that the truth? The lawyer closed the folder and cleared his throat. Even so, what you've done could constitute malicious competition. Malicious competition? Chloe laughed. I'm the majority shareholder, she's an employee. I'm reorganizing personnel, call that malicious? Then every boss on earth is a crook. The lawyer clearly hadn't expected Chloe to be this tough and stammered. Chloe stood, walked up to him. Counselor, I suggest you go home and reread corporate and labor law. Every move I've made is fully compliant. It's your side that has a lot of explaining to do. For instance, how did Sophie pass her interview with a fake degree? And how did Hunter use his position for personal gain? The court will find those questions fascinating. The lawyer's face turned even uglier. Chloe sat back down. If Ms. Rowan truly believes she's been wronged, she's welcome to sue. I'll see her in court. But let me warn you, her voice iced over, don't try to manipulate public opinion, and don't bother with the pity act. I don't buy it. The lawyer slunk away. That afternoon Chloe received an unexpected call. Chloe. It's Mrs. Mother. Mrs. Mother was Hunter's mother. She had once doted on Chloe, but after the divorce the calls stopped. Mrs. Mother, Chloe answered, voice layered with emotion. Chloe, Auntie knows Hunter wronged you, but for the sake of all those years, could you give him one more chance? Mrs. Mother's voice cracked. He's drinking every day, he's wrecked. Chloe was silent a moment. I'm not taking revenge. I'm protecting my interests. But this will destroy him. Auntie, Chloe cut in, when I was bullied for 3 straight years, who protected me? Now that I can finally protect myself, why should I pull my punches? Mrs. Mother sighed. Chloe, you've changed. Yes, I have, Chloe answered calmly. I'm no longer the doormat who swallowed every insult. After hanging up, Chloe felt a weight on her chest, not from softening, but from regret. She had once loved this family with all her heart, yet here they were. At dusk she was packing up when her assistant brought a fresh report. Cameron, online buzz today is huge, and most voices are backing you. Chloe skimmed the pages. Netizens had written, Go Cameron. Why should the mistress get promoted? Workplaces should reward skill, not connections. A true modern woman, she built her own empire instead of clinging to a man. There were skeptics, but they were drowned out. Chloe closed the file, satisfied. Her read on the public had been spot on. People aren't blind. She was heading out when her phone rang again. An unfamiliar voice. Cameron, I'm the editor-in-chief of * Startup World Star. We'd like an exclusive headline. Dylan, the ultimate career comeback for today's woman. Chloe considered. Possible, but I have conditions. Name them. Business only. No personal drama. Deal. She hung up and gazed at the darkening skyline, a satisfied curve on her lips. The game had only just begun, and she already held the initiative. Next move. Watch the opponent scramble. Next morning, Sophie realized the situation had slipped from her grasp. She'd planned a social media campaign to whitewash herself and paint Chloe as a spurned, love-crazed shrew. Before she could post, the internet exploded. Someone had excavated her murky past, college papers ghostwritten, jobs landed through nepotism, even the clinic records of her cosmetic surgeries. Worse, chat logs between her and Hunter surfaced, brimming with venom about Chloe. That woman's all work, zero femininity. She struts like she's queen, but she only holds her job because of her husband. Once I'm secure, My first order of business is booting her off the board. The screenshots spread faster than a virus, reposted tens of thousands of times within hours. The comment sections were a unanimous slaughter, so this is Homewrecker 101. Disgusting. Trash talk backstage, then get exposed, karma's a bitch. Call Chloe unfeminine? All you've got is cheap perfume, honey. Then people found her alt accounts, packed with early insults toward Chloe. At Chloe, stop acting pure, you're just a dumped loser. Some people never grow up, still playing ingenue at their age, cringe. At Chloe, your husband stopped loving you, so why cling to the company? Pathetic. Those vicious lines were screenshotted and reposted, sealing her fate as the evil mistress. Only then did Sophie grasp Chloe's true power. This woman excelled not only in boardrooms but in the arena of public opinion. Panicking, Sophie paid for takedowns and drafted clarifications, but the tide was irreversible. The internet never forgets. Once tagged, the label sticks. That afternoon her lawyer called. Ms. Rowan, the outlook is grim. Cameron's evidence is solid, and public sentiment is overwhelmingly against you. What do I do? Sophie's voice trembled on the verge of tears. My advice: apologize publicly and seek reconciliation. Apologize? Sophie shrieked. Why should I? Because you have no alternatives, the lawyer replied coolly. Dragging this out helps no one. Meanwhile, Hunter wasn't faring any better. As the other headline act of the scandal, he was dragged into the limelight too. Reporters unearthed his skeletons, abusing authority for profit, betraying his wife, even past stunts he thought were buried. More devastating, business partners began severing ties. No one wanted to shake hands with a pariah. Hunter, regrettably, we're suspending cooperation. Given recent events, distance seems wise. Man, you stepped in it this time. We can't help you. Calls kept coming, each a variation on abandonment. Hunter stared at his emptied desk, tasting desertion for the first time. He recalled Chloe's warning, "You thought I lost," truth was, I hadn't swung yet. Now her strike had landed, precise and fatal. She aimed to reclaim the firm, and, while she was at it, incinerate their reputations and futures. That night Hunter hunched alone at a bar, knocking back one single malt after another. Alcohol ferried him back to a night 3 years ago, Chloe working overtime with him till dawn, sharing instant noodles, polishing pitches, dreaming together. Back then her eyes sparkled, her smile warm, her trust absolute. Now she was ice cold, gaze razor sharp, every word carving vital organs. Hunter! A familiar voice intruded. He looked up to find his college classmate Leo sliding into the opposite seat. What are you doing here? Leo asked. I've been hearing. Say nothing. Hunter waved him off. I know what's out there. Leo exhaled. You're in deep this time. Chloe's play, it was brutal. I underestimated her, Hunter said with a bitter smile. I thought she was just a gentle woman. I never imagined she had such a ruthless side. Why did you two end up divorcing in the first place? Leo asked curiously. Hunter was silent for a long time, then spoke slowly. Because I was greedy. I wanted the company and I wanted Sophie. I thought I could have both, but, in the end you lost the one who mattered most, Emery said. Hunter nodded, his eyes a little lost. Looking back, I probably never really knew her. I thought she couldn't live without me, thought she would keep giving in forever. But she was just waiting for the right moment to strike back. Right. Hunter raised his glass. She won. Completely. Just then his phone rang. It was his mother. Do you have any idea what Chloe went through these past 3 years? His mother's voice was choked. How many chances did she give up for you? How much humiliation did she endure? And you jumped straight into another woman's arms. Mom, I didn't mean to. You cheated on her with Sophie, and you call that unintentional? Hunter fell completely silent. His mother went on, I called Chloe today, trying to put in a good word for you. She said she's not taking revenge on him, just protecting her own interests. Hunter's chest felt as though a sledgehammer had slammed into it. He couldn't breathe. Meanwhile, Chloe was in her apartment, sipping red wine and watching the financial news. The anchor was reporting Sterling's latest developments in a neutral tone about the boardroom storm, but Chloe could hear the slant. The press clearly favored her return rather than sympathizing with Hunter and Sophie's fate. Her phone buzzed, her best friend, Sienna. "Chloe, you were sensational." Sienna's voice rang with glee. "I just saw the broadcast, everyone online is singing your praises." "Nothing to praise. I did what had to be done," Chloe answered calmly. "Stop pretending you're over the moon, admit it." Sienna laughed. "Sophie's being ripped to shreds, Hunter is public enemy number one. Sweet revenge, girl." Chloe was quiet a moment, then said, "Sienna, you know what I feel most right now? Not elation, just exhaustion." "Exhaustion?" Sienna was surprised. "You won. Why tired?" "Because this victory came too late." Chloe exhaled softly. "If I'd had today's guts and leverage 3 years ago, maybe none of this pain would have happened." Sienna nodded in understanding. "Let the past stay past. What matters is you have the steering wheel now." "Yes, the steering wheel," Chloe echoed. "For the first time in 3 years, I feel in control of my own fate." After hanging up, Chloe stepped onto the terrace overlook, gazing at the city's glittering lights. 3 months had passed since Chloe had seized Sterling's most battered subsidiary, Shenghua Industrial, and turned a profit no one thought possible. When the finance wing released the quarterly numbers, shockwaves rippled through the group. From drowning in red to black in 12 weeks, a miracle by Wall Street standards. Chloe stood in Shenghua's executive conference room facing a dozen department heads, her expression as calm as if discussing the weather. "Everyone, last quarter's results are out." She flipped open the folder. Sales exceeded plan by 120%, marketing landed 3 marquee clients, RDS new line is already in mass production. Around the table, people exchanged uneasy looks. 3 months earlier they had sneered behind her back, labeling her the office ornament. Now, nobody dared doubt this soft-spoken woman. "Director." She glanced at the middle-aged man slouched in the corner, one of the 3 who had voted against her. "Status on the South China project you mentioned?" Director straightened, visibly nervous. "Cameron, the contracts are signed, 15% above forecast." "Sit, please. I don't bite." A quiet chuckle swept the room, tension evaporating. "Cameron," sales rep Sterling piped up, "your marketing angle is unbelievable. We aren't chasing orders anymore, customers come begging us." Chloe smiled slightly. "Business is war. Sun Tzu said, subdue the enemy without fighting. Sell them the fear of missing out, not a discount." "Did you major in management, Cameron?" someone asked. "Psychology." Chloe checked her watch. "Meeting adjourned. Hit your numbers and year-end bonuses will be generous." After the others left, Director lingered. "Cameron, may I speak privately?" His face was a storm of emotions. Chloe motioned for him to sit. "I owe you an apology," he said, bowing deeply. 3 months ago I voted no at the board. I assumed I was a connected airhead parachuted in?" Chloe finished, voice even. He flushed. "Yes. But you proved me wrong, completely." "Larry," she said, surprising him with his first name, "know why I didn't flex muscles before the vote?" He shook his head. "Because no one should peak too soon. Flash power early and you breed envy. Envy can't be tamed. But fear can be transmuted into respect." She turned from the window. "I wanted everyone to taste the cost of opposition and the payoff of allegiance." "Cameron, your vision humbles me," he said earnestly. "I'm officially requesting to rejoin your team at your command." Chloe smiled. "Larry, I never treated the 3 of you as enemies. In business there are no permanent foes, only permanent interests. I was simply waiting for you to come home." That afternoon Sterling's share price set another record. Reporters speculated what magic the Ice Queen had cast on a dying unit, while inside the firm employees had coined a nickname for her, Crafty Cam, for her knack of wringing profit from chaos as easily as squeezing water from a towel. That evening Chloe sat in her office overlooking the city. Assistant knocked and entered. "Cameron, a Wall Street Journal reporter would like an exclusive." "Decline," she said without looking up. "We court press later. Also, Mr. Sterling is downstairs, been waiting 2 hours." Chloe's hand stilled. "Tell him I'm unavailable." "Understood. Wait." She lifted her eyes. From now on, if he comes, I'm not in. Assistant nodded and withdrew. Chloe closed the file and leaned back, eyes shut. She knew the hardest confrontation still lay ahead. Next morning Chloe stepped out of her town car and found the usual figure blocking her path. Hunter leaned against the lobby glass, bloodshot eyes evidence of a sleepless night. His hair was disheveled, the custom suit rumpled, far from the polished VP image. "Chloe," he said, hope flickering. She stopped, calm. "What do you want?" "To talk. Just a few minutes." She glanced at her watch. "I have a board briefing. Then tonight." "I'll wait." "Unnecessary." She skirted him toward the turnstile. He hurried after her. "The situation wasn't what you think. Let me explain." She halted, turned, and looked at him. "Mr. Sterling, please address me as Cameron. We're superior and subordinate now, observe protocol." "Chloe," his tone carried a plea. "Cameron." Her voice cooled. He drew a slow breath. "Cameron. I'd like to discuss our personal issues." "No personal issues." Avery stepped forward. "If it's business, submit a meeting request through proper channels." "Then I'm submitting one right now," Hunter said behind her. "I'd like to speak with you alone about our past." Chloe stopped at the elevator and turned. Several employees had already noticed the tension and were stealing glances. "The past?" Chloe gave a soft laugh. "Hunter, let the past stay where it is. I only care about the future." The doors slid open and she walked in. Hunter tried to follow, but she raised a hand. "This lift is executive only. Please use the staff elevator." The doors sealed slowly, cutting off their line of sight. That evening Hunter was waiting downstairs again, 2 cappuccinos and a bouquet of white roses in hand. When Chloe emerged he was standing in the cold wind, face pale. "Why are you still here?" she asked, frowning. "I told you I'd wait." He offered a cup. "Your favorite, dry cappuccino, half sugar." She didn't take it. "I quit caffeine." "Then these are for you." He held out the roses. "You always loved white roses." "I prefer sunflowers now." The words left him frozen. "You've changed." His voice cracked. "No, I finally stopped pretending." Her gaze was crystal clear. "Hunter, you thought you knew me, but you never really did. I admit I overlooked your feelings, but Chloe." "Cameron," she corrected. He clenched his jaw. "Fine, Cameron. I honestly want us to start over. I've already ended things with Sophie. I'm not interested in your private life," she cut in. "Anything else? If not, I'm going home." "Chloe, please, just give me 5 minutes to explain." His eyes glistened. "I know I hurt you, but surely some feeling is still there." She studied him in silence, then spoke calmly. "Hunter, do you know what I gained most in these 3 years?" He shook his head. "I learned how to let go." Her tone was even. "You and she were my most successful discard." His face drained of color. "You mean?" "I mean, thank you for teaching me sunk cost." She turned toward the parking garage. 3 years of time and affection is a heavy investment, but throwing more in would only deepen the loss. "Chloe," he shouted after her. She neither paused nor looked back. "I really know I was wrong." His voice echoed miserably in the cold. "I'll wait, however long, for your forgiveness." At last she stopped, still facing away. "Hunter, you still don't get it." "I'm not angry, I'm saying goodbye." Head high, she walked off without another glance. Behind her, Hunter dropped to his knees, white roses scattering across the pavement. 6 months later Sterling Group hosted its most lavish annual gala. Crystal chandeliers glittered over the grand ballroom, champagne flowed, black tie gowns swept across the marble floor. Chloe, statuesque in a black evening gown, sat at the center of the dais, looking down on the crowd. She was no longer the woman who had once swallowed her pride to spare her husband embarrassment, nor the subdued vice president of half a year ago. Tonight she was Sterling's undisputed sovereign. "Distinguished guests, colleagues," she began, her voice carrying to every corner, "thank you for your dedication this past year. Sterling's achievements belong to each of you." Applause thundered. Avery continued, "Tonight I announce several personnel appointments." The room stilled, everyone knew this was the main event. Larry, promoted to CEO of Shunghua Industrial. Director mounted the stage, promotion contract in hand, and whispered, "Cameron, Quinn for the opportunity." She smiled and nodded. One by one she announced further promotions, each met with enthusiastic applause. Finally, a few personal words. She set the papers aside. "A year ago many dismissed me as an ornament, a vase elevated by nepotism. Tonight I tell you, Chloe is no one's accessory." The clapping surged even louder. Her gaze swept the floor and landed on Hunter in the back row, pale and hollow-eyed. For 6 months he had tried and failed to secure a meeting. The once crowned prince of the Hunter clan had been reduced to a sidelined staffer. Sophie had left the company long before, rumor placed her abroad, but no one cared enough to verify. "A reporter asked me the secret of my success," Avery said. "I boiled it down to 3 lines. The hall held its breath. 1. When you thought I'd lost, I simply hadn't played my card." Light laughter rippled, heads nodded. 2. Losing to the other woman isn't terrifying, pretending to be clueless for 3 years is. The atmosphere shifted, everyone knew the story, yet hearing her state it aloud felt both daring and liberating. 3. I no longer want to be someone's wife, I want to be myself. The applause rose and refused to fade. Chloe lifted her glass. "To our brighter future, cheers." "Cheers," the crowd echoed. During the reception well-wishers lined up to clink glasses. She handled them effortlessly, smile never slipping. "Cameron," a young reporter ventured, "may we schedule an interview? Your journey has inspired millions online." "Another day," she demurred. "Tonight belongs to the team." Her assistant smoothly intercepted the pushier ones. When the banquet ended, Chloe stepped onto the terrace overlook alone, Manhattan glittering at her feet like a promise kept. "Chloe." She didn't turn, she knew Hunter's voice. "Yes?" she asked, tone even. He kept a respectful distance. "Congratulations, you truly are Sterling's queen now, Quinn." She still didn't look at him. "Are you happy?" he asked suddenly. She faced him at last. He looked older, defeat carved into every line. "Happy?" She chuckled softly. "Was that the counterfeit affection you once gave me? Or the cheap sweetness Sophie offered you?" He opened his mouth, but no words came. "I don't chase happiness anymore," she said, turning to go. "I chase freedom." If time could rewind, he called after her. She paused at the doors, never looking back. "There's no rewind. You taught me one rule, never anchor my hopes in someone else." With that she re-entered the ballroom, leaving him alone in the night wind, tears finally spilling. Chloe strode toward the future, waiting beyond the lights, no one's shadow, no one's appendage. She was simply Chloe, queen of Sterling Group, a woman who would never again bow to love. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If it moved you, please like and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful tales. See you next time.
7 years with Frost, and he told me he was bored. He turned around and found a younger, fresher girl. This time I didn't throw a tantrum. I tossed the ring, cut up the brand new wedding gown, and boarded a midnight flight out of Riverdale. His friends started a betting pool on how soon I'd come crawling back. Frost laughed, cold and sure. Give it 3 days, she'll break down and beg. But 3 days came and went, then another 3, radio silence. Frost finally lost it and dialed my number himself. "Serena, stop the drama and come home." A low male chuckle answered. "President Vance, you don't leave a girl hanging overnight or someone else will swoop in." Frost's eyes blazed scarlet through the screen. "Put Serena on now." Ethan dropped a kiss on my bare shoulder. "Can't. She's still out cold. I'll have to kiss her awake first." That 7th year with Frost, I'd secretly ordered a wedding gown, mustered every ounce of courage, and planned to propose. I arrived a few minutes late to the party, just in time to hear him chatting with his crew. "Serena? I'm over her." Frost lit a cigarette, grinning lazily. 7 years, you'd be sick of a goddess too. The rest cracked up. True, 7 years, and even ambrosia tastes bland. Still, Serena's stunning. And that body, remember Frost's birthday? The femme fatale midi she wore? Every guy in the room forgot how to blink. "Seriously, Frost, you used to worship her. You really ready to let her go?" Frost's voice stayed flat. "When have I ever lied? Then mind if I make a play for Serena?" "Knock yourself out," he said, blowing a perfect smoke ring. "Just don't be grossed out by leftovers. Classy." You'd chase a woman Frost discarded? More laughter. I never stepped into the VIP lounge that night. Texted a headache excuse and went home. Frost hung up without a single question. That was the moment I knew it was over. Within days, the gossip blogs were on fire. Frost was courting a sophomore from the Drama Academy, young, tender, starry-eyed. He does everything big, same as when he'd chased me. Penthouses, McLarens, Harry Winston chokers. Whatever it takes to plaster the headlines. The girl never stood a chance. She caved in 48 hours. At the next group dinner, Frost walked in with her on his arm. The room went mute. A couple of girlfriends shot me worried glances. I smiled. Why the funeral faces? It's just me. Frost finally looked my way. Serena, let's clear the air while everyone's here. Go ahead. All these breakups and makeups are tired. The spark died years ago. My fist clenched so hard the ring carved into my skin. I didn't feel a thing. Stella's young, uncomplicated. I'm serious about her. I won't hide her in some gray zone. He stroked her hair. She deserves the title. I nodded. Understood. If you ever need anything, you still have me in Riverdale. We stay friends. Better not. I stood, smiling thinly. Clean cuts heal fastest. I'd hate to confuse the poor girl. Frost lifted a brow, then shrugged. Fair. Enjoy your night. I'm heading out. Driver? I'll grab a cab. As the door swung shut, I heard the guessing start. 2 days. She looked pissed. Give her a week. Frost's voice carried ice cold. 3 days max, she'll break down. Same script, new verse. After all, Serena's addicted to him. Everyone knows that. I swallowed the bitter smile, clutched my clutch, and marched to the elevator. Back at the loft, I lifted the wedding gown from its corner in the walk-in. 6 months of fittings, and it would never see an aisle. Custom order, non-refundable. I found a pair of shears and shredded it. No point leaving trash that would only irritate Frost. I slipped off the ring, set it on the coffee table, and packed light. Just passport, phone, and dignity. Left a handwritten note. Do whatever you want with the penthouse and everything in it. Don't ask me. Booked the red-eye to Eastport where my best friend had married earlier that year. She fed me retail therapy and afternoon tea. Evening rolled into a small reunion. Old classmates, cheap champagne. Halfway through, the door opened again. Girls squealed. Ethan? Rare sighting. Big shot. What brings you down from the VIP lounge? Deal next door. Heard the gang was here. Thought I'd crash. His gaze brushed mine, lingered half a second, moved on. My friend squeezed my wrist. Serena, he's here for you. I squinted through the buzz. Taller than Frost, black cashmere overcoat, matching suit underneath. Face carved by deadlines, legs non-stop. I shook my head. We haven't talked in years. She ignored me and waved him over. Ethan, could you run Serena back to her hotel? We're all drunk. Uber feels sketchy. I blinked up at him, he looked back. 2 beats, then a nod. Sure, thanks, darling. She whispered. 7 years, 1 guy, terrible ROI. Frost cheats, you upgrade. And that specimen? Waste not, want not. How do you know he wants to? His eyes already stripped you naked, babe. Trust me, 18 boyfriends worth of experience. Ethan drove me to the harbor view. At the curb I unbuckled. Thanks for the lift. He glanced sideways. Anytime. I stepped out, then Frost's contempt echoed in my ear. Liquid courage made me turn. Tea upstairs. He kissed me in the elevator, demanding, dizzying. Cameras. I gasped, legs jelly, arms clinging to his waist. He switched angles, blocking the lens, and kissed me again. Inside the suite, he paused at the door. Serena, last chance. Say the word and I walk. I twirled his silk tie around my fingers, pulled him in. You've already swollen my lips. Now you want a ghost. He laughed softly, thumb skimming my mouth. Then remember, no takebacks. We didn't make it to the bed. My back scraped the wall. I whimpered and bit his shoulder. Ethan, are you part bulldozer? Ever heard of romance? He slid a hot palm under me, relentless. Serena, I can't go slow tonight. 5 minutes later, I understood the warning. Afterward, he carried me to the bedroom. I buried my face in the pillow, giggling. Ethan, how long's it been? He shot me a dark look. Years, work devoured everything. My smile faded, tears welled. Sorry, I dirted you. Hey! He sounded panicked, wiping tears with clumsy thumbs. I shouldn't have dragged you into my mess. Too late. You started this, you finish it. He cupped my cheeks, deadly serious. Serena, if you begin something with me, you see it through. Day 7 in Eastport. Out of the blue, Jiang-Su WhatsApped me. When are you coming back? No plans. Zane's birthday week after next. Show your face. Send him a gift from me. That night in the VIP lounge, Jiang handed Frost the chat thread. Dial her. She'll pick up for you. Frost stared, stubbed his cigarette, and stood. Let her rot. Bro, chill, she's hurting. She dumped the ring. What else does she want? Maybe don't flaunt the freshman next time. We're done. Rule from this second. Nobody contacts her. If she dies, she dies. Friends tried to soften the edges. Man, your ulcer's just healed. Remember who nursed you. The more they talked, the blacker his face got. Finally, he grabbed his coat and slammed the door. Winter wind slapped him outside, but the rage inside burned hotter. 7 days and not a single text. She was really doing this. Frost pulled up her number and hit block. You'd better not come crawling back in tears, I said. Because this time I won't soften the way I used to. Ethan's call came the instant I hit return on the final line and finished formatting the layout. I'd started writing magazine columns in college, and they'd already found a small, devoted readership. So after graduation I went full-time. Leaning on that modest gift, the money was decent. The job was portable. Laptop on my shoulder, I could work anywhere the wind took me. Which meant that, once we split, I didn't have to stay in Riverdale licking wounds. Serena, what are you in the mood for tonight? Ethan's voice came through crystal clear. The mid-afternoon chaos inside me settled at once. My brain cells just died by the millions. I'm wiped. You decide. How about hot pot? I know a place that does incredible pig brain tofu. You'll love it. I always order pig brain tofu when we eat hot pot. But after Frost told me it looked disgusting, I pretty much stopped. Still, I vaguely remember Ethan's taste running clean and light. Ethan, you don't have to bend for me. I'm not picky anymore. I'm suddenly craving it too. Remember the spicy Maokai pot in second cafeteria back in college? The brains were silky and fresh. Hearing him mention it made me hungry all over again. That cart really was good. I ate there 4 straight years and never got sick of it. All right, hot pot it is. I'll come pick you up now. Okay. He took me to a Chongqing hot pot joint that's been around in Eastport for decades. The storefront is worn, the space cramped, but the turnover's wild. Ethan in his tailored suit looked completely out of place. I watched him wipe my chair with a napkin, then scald our bowls and chopsticks with hot water, and pour my juice like he'd done it all his life. A trust fund prince, yet the small stuff came naturally. Ethan, your ex-girlfriend really trained you well, I teased. Unlike me, 7 years of on and off. Only at the very start, when Frost chased me, did I feel pampered and prized. After graduation, the 1.5 years we lived together, I was basically his housekeeper. Frost's stomach was delicate, so I learned to cook and simmer soup, tending his meals and his days like a little wife. Now I finally see. I loved him until I vanished inside that love. I forgot the rule about loving yourself first. How, then, could I expect his feelings to stay blazing forever? Ethan swirled food in the pot and glanced up. Where did you hear I had an ex-girlfriend? I blinked. Didn't a girl follow you around in college? Childhood friends or something. You mean Ing Zhao? He laughed. We grew up together, sure, but we never dated. I never liked her that way, more like a little sister. So you haven't dated anyone since? He folded his shirt cuffs with care. Setups, short tries, when it felt wrong, I ended it. Oh, so nothing after that? I dropped my eyes, remembering his first night jitters, and his claims suddenly sounded plenty believable. Serena, I won't next time, he said out of nowhere. I was lost. Won't what? He turned away and cleared his throat. Maybe it was the steam curling off the broth, but his ears were scarlet. You'll know in a bit. He spooned the cooked pig brain tofu into my bowl. Eat. I didn't understand his earlier warning until, hours later, he'd carried me from the bathroom back to the hotel bed. By then I was falling apart, hair plastered to my temples, fingertips trembling. Ethan still showed no sign of stopping. Ethan! I tried to glare, but my eyes were misty. It came out more invitation than anger. The way I breathed his name sounded like a pout, nowhere near real fury. He bent and kissed me softly. Serena, does it feel good? I shook my head, refusing. He didn't mind. He simply shifted from storm to slow, maddening tenderness. I couldn't take it. Tears slipped from the corners of my eyes. Ethan, my nails scratched his lower back, voice breaking. Tell me now, Serena, does it feel good? His own eyes were red with restraint, arms corded, sweat dripping from his forehead. That feeling of racing toward the peak, yet always falling a breath short, drove tiny sobs from me. It just feels good. A searing palm gripped my waist. He drove in like a siege, shattering my voice into broken notes. The last thing I heard before I blacked out was his whisper. Serena, if it feels good, promise you'll never leave me, all right? The night of Zane's birthday, the gift I'd bought in Eastport reached him via friend. Frost sat on the sofa smoking, the bottle in front of him already half empty. Ethan and I had picked the present together. Vintage cufflinks from a couture house Zane adored. Nice detail on these, Zane said, smile stiff. He peeked at Frost and quickly had his girlfriend stash the box. Hand it over. Frost's voice cut in. Jordan froze, then obediently passed the leather box. Frost stared at the cufflinks. The logo was discreet, almost invisible, but he studied it a long while. Put it away. He snapped the lid shut and slid it aside. Zane exhaled in relief and reached, only for Frost to seize the empty bottle and smash it against the coffee table. Shards flew. A long gash bloomed across the back of his hand. The VIP lounge erupted. What the hell, man? Why the tantrum? That cuts deep, blood's not stopping. Hospital now. Frost stood motionless, face dark, violence coiled in every line. Serena never bought this brand, he said, voice low and husky. Zane forced a laugh. So what? Maybe she just grabbed something. Unlike your birthday, she started planning yours half a year ahead. Right, Frost, we all know Serena treasured you. You were easily 10 times the rest of us combined. Frost gave a cold laugh. Treasured me. The chatter died by degrees. Frost, should I call her? Let's get that hand stitched first. Zane, emboldened, snapped a photo of Frost's torn hand and WhatsApped it to Serena. Frost didn't stop him. Maybe it happened too fast. The room went pin-drop quiet. 10 seconds later, Zane's phone rang. See? Told you she's crazy about you. Look, Serena's calling, he gloated. Even Frost's furious face seemed to smooth a fraction. You answer, Zane chirped, thumb swiping speaker. The moment Serena spoke, Frost's mouth flattened to a line. Zane, what happened? Are you hurt? Nah, not me. Frost's hand, you should see it, blood everywhere. He rattled on, but the line stayed eerily silent. Serena? You there? Come back, will you? He won't see a doctor. Keeps bleeding. Zane, her gentle voice returned. Yeah, talk to me. He waggled brows at Frost. Don't tell me about him anymore. Zane's grin collapsed. Serena. Also, happy birthday, Zane. Wait, Serena, don't hang. The click echoed loud. Zane stared at the phone like it burned, wishing he could knock himself out. Why meddle in this mess? Silence swallowed the room. Frost surveyed them, calm almost. Cat got your tongues. Nobody breathed. He laughed again. No one's got a damn thing to say. Frost. Easy, the bleeding's worse. You know how Serena gets, someone muttered. From the corner, Reese finally spoke. Truth is, I've wanted to say, what you did cut deep. She's a woman. Women have thin skin. Even if the spark dies, you end things with grace. Who says I'm ending anything? Frost sneered. 7 years. I could raise a dog and it'd wag its tail when it saw me. Reese smiled faintly. Ever wonder how many sevens a girl has? What if she really never comes back? Impossible. A tremor flickered in his final word. What's truly impossible in this world? Once a heart cools, warming it again is hell. Frost, don't set yourself up for regret you can't undo. Ellis rose, bag in hand, and walked out. Nearby, Caspian watched his wife of 2 years, eyes unreadable. Was she defending Serena, or mourning her own marriage? Accusing him, Caspian, of neglect. Caspian, aren't you seeing your wife off? He curved a smile, lit a cigarette. My wife. She's on set filming. Doesn't wrap until next month. Keep pushing your luck, her friend sighed, shaking her head. Caspian gave nothing away. But Reese was nothing like Serena. Serena had no toxic family dragging her down and could earn her own money. If she really walked away, the only fallout would be a slightly lower standard of living. Reese, though, had the bottomless pit of the Vance clan behind her and an older brother paralyzed in bed. She didn't dare leave him. Give her 10 times the courage and she still wouldn't dare. The moment I hung up, Ethan slipped his arms around me from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder and rubbed his jaw gently against my neck, saying nothing. I couldn't help laughing. What's wrong? Serena, are you going back? Back where? To Riverdale. I've no plans to go back for now, but who knows later. It's not like I've done anything shameful. Why shouldn't I be allowed home? My family's still there. Ethan went silent again. Only then did I catch the real question. Are you asking if I'll get back together with Frost? Will you? If I say absolutely not, will you believe me? He lowered his eyes. The straight bridge of his nose brushed my cheek. I want to. Ethan, I have my pride too. Then do you still have feelings for him? I thought about it seriously. Saying they've completely vanished would be fake. So many years. Ethan nipped me lightly. Stop, Serena. Let me finish. But it's not longing or unwillingness to lose either. I stroked his face. Breaking up with him didn't hurt that much. Maybe I stopped loving him long ago. Maybe the moment he started taking us for granted, I was already bracing for the end. I won't. I won't take you for granted, won't be half-hearted, won't make you cry or feel pain. He held me tighter and tighter, until finally he kissed me again. Serena, be with me. But I didn't return the kiss. In the end, I gently pushed him away. Ethan, I'm sorry. Sorry for what? He looked down at me, eyes rimmed red. It's my own issue. I averted my gaze. I don't want another relationship. Then what have these days meant? His hands on my shoulders shook. Serena, what am I to you? I clenched my fists, inhaled. Let's call it mutual convenience. If you're willing, we can keep things as they are. The moment you meet someone you like, we end it. What kind of arrangement? A booty call. If that's how you see it. I wouldn't lift my eyes. I was afraid I'd cry. Ethan, I'm sorry. If this makes you uncomfortable, I'll leave Eastport tonight. I swear I'll never trouble you again. Serena. His eyes were bloodshot. He let go and stepped back. He seemed to smile, but the smile was shattered. Serena, you can't do this to me. Ethan. He turned, grabbed his cashmere overcoat, and walked out. I instinctively started after him, then stopped. At the door, his hand closed over the handle. He suddenly looked back. He even offered a reassuring smile. Sorry, I just need a little time alone. I nodded. Okay, I won't bother you. Serena, give me time. I'll give you an answer. When Ethan left, I sank onto the couch limp. An ache I couldn't name filled my chest. Yet I knew more clearly than ever that right now, I simply can't throw myself headlong into love again. I'm terrified we'll end up sick of each other. Terrified that the eyes burning for me now will cool to indifference, then to icy disgust. I don't want to repeat that cycle. I just should never have involved Ethan. If I'd known he cared from the start, that night I would never have let him walk me back to the Harborview. At 3 a.m. Ethan parked beneath Serena's hotel. He got out but didn't go in. Instead, he leaned against the McLaren and lit a cigarette. Countless windows glowed. He couldn't tell which was Serena's. He knew she was here, in the same city, breathing the same air. A 10-minute elevator ride, and he could see her. That alone felt like enough. In less than 2 days, he'd talked himself around. It was easy, really. Fresh out of a 7-year train wreck, of course she didn't want a new romance. Of course she was jaded about men dating marriage. Maybe he'd pushed too hard. If a no-strings setup made her feel safe, comfortable, he could live without a title. What ache compared to loving her and never having her? Perhaps a year and a half ago, when he'd learned she'd moved into Frost's penthouse. He decided to let go then. Tried matchmaking, met new women, attempted to move on. It didn't take, he ended things fast. Since then, no matter how his family nagged, he hadn't tried again. If Serena hadn't broken up and flown to Eastport, if that night she hadn't asked him up, he might have stayed single forever. Ethan stubbed the cigarette, gaze steady. But she had come. She had asked him up. If he lost her now, when she was finally within reach, then Ethan deserved no happiness at all. On my last night in Eastport, I met my best friend for drinks. So how are things with Ethan? She looked me up and down, clicking her tongue. Girl, your skin's glowing. Ethan's clearly watering you well. I should quit wasting his time. I don't want love, don't want marriage. Serena, why punish yourself for someone else's crimes? It's not fair to Ethan either. They say one plants the tree, the next enjoys the shade. Fine. But the jerk who burned the forest shouldn't make the next guy breathe ash. Frost's trash, but Ethan's a keeper. Don't let Frost warp what you feel for Ethan. It's not bias against Ethan, it's a hurdle I haven't cleared. Bull. 7 years of Frost's gaslighting convinced you you're unworthy of real love. I froze. Was that it? The on and off agony, the insecurity, the second-guessing, had taught me to doubt everyone, everything, to believe no one would ever love me wholeheartedly. But why couldn't I deserve honest love? People who crush hearts deserve 1,000 needles. Those who loved sincerely? Heaven owes them an open window. Baby, do you even know how amazing you are? She hugged me, swaying. Drop-dead gorgeous killer body, paying your way since sophomore year. And mine too, pretty capable, kind. If I were a guy, I'd marry you or die trying. You deserve love, Serena, the very best kind. Not scraps from Frost's table. Trust me, he'll regret this for the rest of his miserable life. Now call Ethan right now. And cancel that boarding pass. I know you're planning another disappearing act. I stared at her, eyes stinging. But Iris, what if Ethan and I end up the same way? We won't. How can you be sure? A man with self-control who'd rather be alone than settle won't be dumb enough to lose the woman he's always wanted. You think he's Frost-level stupid? I shook my head. He wasn't. I expected Ethan to be happy. I didn't expect a 28-year-old CEO who'd steered his family's empire to record profits to answer the phone like a kid on Christmas morning. Iris beamed. Happy, Serena? I nodded. Yeah, I really think I am. See? You're happy, he's happier, problem solved. She giggled. Just picturing Frost's future tantrums makes me ecstatic. He might already have someone new. I smiled faintly. Let's stop mentioning him, Iris. For the first time I spoke of Frost without a ripple, as if he truly belonged to another life. When Ethan's McLaren pulled up, I was stepping out of the bar. He stood in the night breeze, arms open. I paused. Damn, the man was gorgeous, every inch my type. Men can juggle women, overlap relationships. A seamless new start is barely criticized. So me dating after a breakup is fair game. I walked toward him, he strode to me. Amid the crowd we kissed like no one was watching. His heart pounded. I touched the back of his neck, burning hot. Ethan, are you running a fever? Forehead to forehead, breathless, he murmured. Serena, I don't know what happens to me when I touch you. I chuckled, rose on my toes, kissed his chin. Maybe you just need more practice. His ears turned scarlet. He cupped my face, eyes blazing. Serena, what am I to you now? I teased him on purpose. What do you think? Friends with benefits or boyfriend? He asked, but before I could answer he buried his face in the curve of my neck and murmured. Forget it. Don't answer. I don't want to know right now. I slid my arms lightly around his waist, pressing closer. Really don't want to know. Boyfriend. Frost's McLaren stopped at the mouth of an alleyway. He got out and walked deep into the alley. An old lived there whose ancestors had once supplied silk to the imperial courts. Now advanced in years, the man no longer received visitors. But Frost had his ways of coaxing the master out of retirement. The wedding gown Serena had shredded arrived here half a month ago. Today the restoration should be finished. As he walked he thought about what Zane had said the other day. He was right. Every girl dreams of walking down the aisle in her wedding dress. He and Serena had been together 7 years, yet he had never once considered proposing. He had never imagined Serena might have thought of proposing to him. Lately he had behaved like a bastard. But those women had only been fleeting amusements. None had touched his heart. Even Stella, whose tantrum had pushed Serena to leave, had only entertained him 3 days. Once the novelty wore off he felt only emptiness, his mind circling back to Serena. 7 years of companionship. Yes, he had grown weary, bored. Yet some people are like colorless, tasteless air. You only realize how vital they are once they're gone. Since Serena had left, everything felt pointless. When he went out with friends, she still monopolized his thoughts. Especially when he drank too much. If Serena were there, she would pretend to scold him. If she couldn't stop him, she would still simmer soup late at night, let him pillow his head on her lap, and massage his temples. Her fingers were soft. Her muttered complaints and worried fussing had once annoyed him. Now he missed them more than anything. Frost decided. When Serena came back this time, he would ask her to marry him. He had always known how badly she wanted that. Giving her marriage would put her at ease, and she would forgive him. The old's craftsmanship really was superb. The dress looked almost exactly as it had before. Frost paid, and as he left his phone suddenly rang. An inexplicable tightness seized him until Zane's name flashed on the screen, and his heart slowed again. Frost, I thought it over. I figured you should know. What is it? Don't freak out, okay? Maybe it's only a rumor. Spit it out. It's about Serena. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. It's probably bogus. Zane, since when are you such a girl? Is she back in Riverdale? Frost. Zane suddenly felt sick. How had things gotten this way? Of all people, why did the tabloid rumor have to involve Ethan? Frost's most hated rival these past years. 2 years ago, they had fought to the death over a major deal. Ethan's Sterling Global had edged him out. It was Frost's first Real defeat, and after that their hostility had turned venomous. I'm just repeating gossip, no proof. Somebody spotted Serena in Eastport. Frost's knuckles whitened around the phone, his voice still calm. What was she doing? She seemed to be with Ethan. Could have just been dinner, nothing more. I got it. Frost. Call me if there's anything concrete. Frost ended the call. He carried the large paper bag containing Serena's once-shredded wedding gown. Step by step he walked through the late autumn Riverdale wind until he reached the alley's mouth and his car. Suddenly he stopped. A thin, mocking smile surfaced on his handsome face. Then, without hesitation, he tossed the elegant bag into a trash can. During the 2nd month of Serena's absence, Frost sent her a WhatsApp. The message went through but sank without reply. It read, I'm selling the loft. What do you want done with your clothes? Maybe he had forgotten the handwritten note she'd left telling him to dispose of everything. Maybe he only wanted an excuse to text her. Perhaps he thought it was the olive branch she would be smart enough to accept. His temper looked fearsome, but in truth he was easy to placate. Serena never answered. Of course the loft wasn't sold. All her clothes and belongings stayed exactly as before, as though she had merely stepped out. Late at night, after pointless socializing, Frost would come here and lie on her bed, staring at the ceiling until dawn. In the 3rd month after she left, another unchanging midnight, the hour hand almost touching 12, Frost dialed Serena's number. Serena had always been conservative and obedient. Her family was ordinary but comfortable, her parents doting. Because she had been beautiful since childhood, the adults kept her on a tight leash. Only the autumn after college graduation did she move in with him. He still remembered that night. She trembled from head to toe, her skin fever-hot and flushed. She had been heart-stoppingly lovely beneath him, fragile as glass. When it was over, she broke down, sobbing again and again. "Frost, you mustn't ever bully me. Promise you'll be good to me and marry me. Frost, will stay together forever, right?" Yet that naive girl who believed love lasted forever had been lost by his hand so long ago that he could scarcely recall the expression on her face the last time they said goodbye. Had she nodded with a smile, or had tears reddened her eyes? The ringtone sounded for a long while, and just as he thought she wouldn't pick up, the call connected. In that instant he wanted to say, "Serena, come home." What left his mouth instead was, "Serena, enough drama, come back." This absurd line was cut short by a man's soft laugh, cold, sharp ice dousing him from head to foot. "President Vance, if you wait till morning to coax a girl, someone else might steal her halfway." "Ethan!" Frost spat the name through clenched teeth, eyes bloodshot. "It's me. Put Serena on now." Frost gripped the phone, voice shaking with rage. "Ethan, if you dare take advantage." "She can't talk." Ethan bent and kissed his girl. Serena's lashes still held a tear, her lips pouting in grievance even in sleep. His heart melted. He brushed a kiss over her lashes, tasting the salt of that single drop. "She's still out cold, mad at me. I'd better kiss her awake." "Ethan!" The line went dead. Ethan switched the phone off and pressed his lips to Serena's swollen ones. "Wake up, baby." I had imagined what running into Frost again might be like. Born to privilege and pride to the bone, parting with me in polite silence. If we ever met, we might nod, exchange pleasantries, then walk on. After all, my family lives in Riverdale, we share friends. Total avoidance was impossible. But I never expected that untouchable, ever-adored prince to look so shattered. That morning I was glowing from a full night's sleep, wearing a new blush-pink cashmere dress, makeup flawless, ripe and sweet as a peach on the vine. Arm linked through Ethan's, I laughed as we stepped through the revolving door, then saw Frost climb out of his car. I froze. Ethan's warm fingers tightened around mine. Frost's shirt was wrinkled, his silk tie absent. Exhaustion lined his face, his eyes bloodshot. People streamed past us. A nearby fountain played cheerful music as though choreographed for film. Only I wasn't a spectator. I was the unprepared lead. Perhaps because Frost looked so unlike himself, Ethan instinctively moved to shield me. But Frost's expression stayed eerily calm, calling my name the way he used to when we were in love, soft and fond. "Serena." I didn't move. The fountain's melody kept dancing in my ears, yet an indefinable sadness pooled inside me. Maybe for the Serena who had overheard cruel words, for the Serena informed of a breakup by text, for the Serena who needed 7 years to love and only 7 days to let go. "Serena, I'm here to take you back to Riverdale." He never once looked at Ethan, his gaze fixed on me, tender to the point of pain. I couldn't recall how long it had been since he'd last looked at me that way. He stopped a step away. "Serena, let's go home and get married. We'll start fresh, all right." He spoke with such conviction, I almost believed the man who'd promised another girl legitimacy was a figment of my imagination. But it's too late, Frost. A shattered heart can't be reassembled. And the new heart that grew in the swamp already belongs to someone else. I shook my head gently. "Frost, leave." "Serena, I never touched Stella. I broke it off in less than 3 days. The wedding gown you bought, I've had it restored by an old. And our matching bands, I kept them safe. Serena, I even had a solitaire custom made. I'm serious." Frost's eyes reddened, and his voice carried a faint tremor. Cradled the velvet ring box like a treasure and held it out to me. His gaze pleaded, shimmering with fragile hope. Looking at him, I couldn't deny the ache. But that was all it was, an ache. "Frost, I already have a boyfriend." I laced my fingers through Ethan's and stepped from behind him to stand at his side. All color drained from Frost's face. His gaze slid downward. It settled on our joined hands. Matching bands circled our middle fingers, just like he and I once wore. "Serena, are you serious?" I drew a breath, glanced at Ethan, and nodded hard. "Yes, serious." Frost gave a low laugh. "You think he's serious about you? You think he has that much heart to give? 2 years ago he fought me tooth and nail over a deal. Now he's chasing you, Serena. Tell me there's no score to settle. Does he dare swear he's pursuing you with zero thought of sticking it to Frost? Serena, you're still so naive. All crows are black. All men are the same. You were mine for 7 years, we lived libraries of moments. Does Ethan honestly not care? And you believe he'll carry you straight into forever? Aren't you afraid you'll simply trade one 7-year chapter of Frost for another? The cheerful music had stopped sometime. So had Frost's voice. Silence rushed in, then the faintest crack of something breaking. After the crack, release Featherlight. See, I didn't even ache anymore. Only Rue remained. Why must life stockpile regrets? Until today I'd never regretted loving Frost. Good or bad, those years were mine. But right then I couldn't escape the sting. How had 7 years not taught me that Frost, at his core, never truly respected me? Ethan pulled me to his chest, eyes aching for me. My face was pale, yet I smiled and shook my head. I'm okay, Ethan. Sweetheart, go wait in the car, let me handle this. I'm staying with you. I clutched his hand. Ethan studied me, then bent and kissed me hard. Serena, I've never regretted a single move I've made, until now. Now I regret not stealing you from him the first day. What gives you the right? Kicking a man when he's down, some hero you are. Frost, you never earned 1 day of the 7 years she gave you. That arrow snapped Frost's last thread of control. He'd never been this unhinged, words spilling ugly. And you, Ethan, chasing a woman who spent 7 years with me. How noble is that? Do you even want Serena, or do you want Frost's ex-girlfriend for the trophy? Ethan's fist crashed into Frost's cheek. Frost, never one to yield, swung back. They traded punches, cheeks split, shirts torn. Security muscled in and pried them apart. Both stood heaving, glaring, neither retreating an inch. Enough! I was shaking, voice cracking. Frost's jaw clenched. Serena, you saw it. Ethan threw the first punch. This isn't over. Yes, he hit first, Mr. Vance. I'll have him apologize. Whatever you need next, we'll cooperate. Serena, he insulted me first, Ethan started. I pressed Ethan's hand. Mr. Vance, allow me to apologize for Ethan. You're shielding him? Frost stepped closer. He hit me, Serena. Then name your price. I'm hurt. He tilted his cheek. Look, doesn't that look painful? I glanced. I'll call an ambulance. We'll cover everything. You know that's not what I want. He reached, I sidestepped. Serena. Every mask he wore shattered, his eyes nothing but sorrow. Yet my heart stayed still. Ethan hissed. Serena, am I disfigured? I turned, his split lip, swollen eye, blood on his jaw, dramatic as ever. I dabbed with a tissue. Ouch, gentle, please. He winced theatrically. You deserved it. I muttered, softer anyway. Need stitches. You're coming. I pass out at needles. I rolled my eyes but nodded. He scooped me close. And a kiss, right here, hurt so bad. I rose on my toes and brushed my lips to the bruise. Frost said nothing. Sunset stretched his shadow long. Maybe the moment I wiped Ethan's blood. Maybe the moment I kissed the hurt. Only then did it hit him. Serena no longer loved him. Reese's offhand question had come true. Serena wasn't coming back. He'd thought detachment was his call. He'd thought he held the reins. He'd thought the odds forever favored him. Now he understood. The one who couldn't let go was Frost. Serena had been the kite string. String severed, the kite drifted, homeless. I watched him walk to his McLaren, loneliness in every stride. The sun slipped below the horizon. Sky blushed pale rose blue. His taillights faded, and with them the 7 years from my 17th to 24th birthdays swept away. From this day Frost would be just another name, never forgotten on purpose, never summoned either. Serena. Ethan folded me in his arms. I tilted my face, smiling. Come on, hospital. The night Ethan proposed he drank too much and talked endlessly. I remember only 2 lines. Serena, we will never have that 7 years. Serena, we will never break up. Everyone believes their own vows, until they don't. But I chose to believe Ethan. Really to believe myself. I deserve love. At least once, sincerity won't betray me. On our engagement day a package arrived from Riverdale. The wedding gown I once bought, restored by Frost's old. Inside the box, a card in his handwriting. Serena, I will always wait for you. Ethan read it, laughed, and kissed my cheek. Too bad, he won't get the chance. That night the gown vanished. I never bothered to wonder where. 3 years into our marriage our daughter, Yuki Sterling, was born. Gifts from Frost poured in, extravagant, name-branded. I asked Ethan's take. He flexed confidence and petty spite in one breath. Our girl lacks for nothing. Donate the lot to a shelter. Guys pushing 40, no wife, no kids, mooning over another man's family, masochist much? I laughed. Why fret over him? That single sentence made Ethan beam. In front of housekeeper and nanny, he spun me in circles. Say it again, Serena, sounded perfect. What? Put me down, I'm dizzy. He sat, cradling me, raining kisses. The part about ignoring other people's business. A friend once whispered that my first years out of college were Ethan's darkest. He never told me, never let a shadow touch our life. Other people's business is irrelevant. Our happiness is the plot. I echoed, then pulled his head down. I brushed his reddened ear. Honey, the baby's 2 months old tonight. Let's turn in early. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you enjoyed, please hit like and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.